Hello and happy Thursday. I think we finally figured out what we needed to do here. As usual, we have a ghetto set up, and we got to put we got to get
do we have to? Yeah,
we got to move the whiskey. We got to put the whiskey into the view.
In the shot.
Yeah, because we do get complaints now that we don't talk enough whiskey anymore.
We're all actually drinking whiskey, which is a thing.
Which is a thing. Yep.
First time in a few weeks.
Cheers, boys. We're all together for the since Andrew's wedding. So this is actually this is twice
since was that June?
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
I think late June.
Late June. Yeah, it was warm. Whatever it was warm.
It was very warm.
Very warm.
It was very warm. My wife's told the story of like just how hot it was and the accommodations they were making like all the time. So like they did everything they could and it turned out really well. But
it was gorgeous wedding. Gorgeous.
But we went and got some Mexican food at Caleb's local joint here. It was very good.
Very good, yeah.
And obviously we were, I was getting ready to order a second margarita, and then Mark's like, we got some time, and obviously he was like, you're all worried about the setup, and I was like, it's fine. We got the margarita, and then I was like, okay, we should probably go. So we didn't order the second margarita. We came straight here, and we had 5 minutes late anyways. So. Shout out to that. I saw Joe Marcello logged in at like 5 p.m. today to say first. So shout out to Joe. Joe is a guy because you guys maybe don't know this, but a couple of years ago, he sent me a bottle of Weller 107 Antique because he lives in Ohio, and so it's easier to find in Ohio. So he sends me a bottle, and then he's like. I think it was like $50 or whatever. He's like, all right, we'll split a group ticket. Like, that'll be you paying me back. So we did a group ticket and it lost. So I got the better end of that deal. So shout out to that. And then Stephen Fox, I think Mark might ban him already, but he's saying that it's funny just to watch the stuff in real life. And goodness gracious.
Yeah, we're a little stuck with the internet quality that we have here. So apologies if it's a little laggy. We played around with the audio or the video quality, and we're trying to get it a little better, and we're a little limited. This is travel setup. It is what it is.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully, like I said, hopefully you guys can hear us all right. Like I said, I had another idea going. It was working well, and then all of a sudden I noticed that because it was a separate camera, the audio and the video were disconnected. So we're going with this. Caleb was already looking around like, my goodness, Josh is talking way too much. And we got a crap ton of races to get into. So I'm just going to go ahead. I got the PPs up for Friday, and I think we're going to kind of go a little rapid fire through some of these because I do feel like we got a lot of races to cover. I don't know how many of these races we're going to cover, how many we're going to get through, how much bourbon and or scotch is going to be drunk, and how many farts we're going to be able to take from Shiloh, who's sitting next to us over here, and he's just loving life right now because he's next to Caleb. So, but if you guys haven't, obviously, Andrew and I, we did record an episode of Drinking Champagne, so that came out earlier. So if you guys want to see some of my other thoughts, I'll probably take a slight back seat, which I say all the time, and then I talk way too much. But Andrew and I, we have some ideas on some of these races, and one of the races actually was this BC Juvenile Sprint, and this is kind of where I went with kind of my best bet or one of my best bets of the day in this race. And my top pick in this race is actually the number 10 Sci-Fair. What's crazy is I saw 6-1 on the morning line, and I was like, all right, that seems about right. I looked overseas. He is 10-1 overseas as of yesterday. So I called up my European friends, and I'm like, get this bet in. I'm like, this is probably. I'm like, I would bet this thing at 10-1 pretty heavily. So I thought Cypher made the most sense here. I like the other George Weaver horse. Unfortunately, I don't have my soundboard. You can't hit me with the Pratt Sim on the 3 Royal Testament. But I thought he was interesting, mostly because of the 5 furlong race at Monmouth. I thought that I talked briefly that, hey, some of these European horses, they've only gone straight, they haven't gone on this turn yet, and it's the 5 furlong sprint, and so it can be pretty sharp for some of these horses. But I like the 3 and the 10 the most. I got a little bit of the 15 if that horse draws in, Bobrovsky, which I don't think. Or not Bobrovsky. I don't think it's a 15. It's a 16. I think it's a 16 I liked. I have the 15 written down for some reason, but I'm mostly 3 and 10 here.
I think you also like the 14 should have.
It was a 14. Maybe that's what it was.
That's the horse you were mentioning. That's one of the West Wards that's in here. I think it's a bad morning line. If we get a couple scratches in the main body of the field, that horse does someone draw it in, you're not going to snip 14 to 1, just given the kind of race it is and what it is. So, no, I think Josh, at least for me, we landed on a similar top couple here. I thought horses like the 3. Stupid mouse makes stupid. Apologies. The 3 Royal Testament and Josh's also mentioned the 10 Cy-Fair. I think those are both interesting horses. I think when you think Breeders' Cup and you think of turf racing, you tend to think, oh, the Euros come in, but it's not as dominant in this, especially in these younger horses. Oftentimes, the American horses are a little more cranked, at a younger age. They're a little bit more precocious. It's how they're trained. It's how they're managed. So I think those two are both, very likely horses in here. I have some prices I like in here. I'm going to give it to Caleb because I know he does like one of the Euros. So I figured, he can talk about the Euro he likes and why he's there.
Yeah, I think, just to kind of build on Mark's comment a bit, I do think the Europeans have figured this race out. And while historically this was an area the Americans had an advantage, Europe has won this race 4 years in a row. In the last 3 years, they've filled 3 of the 4 superfecta spots. I mean, we're not even hitting the board against mid-tier European horses here. I'm not afraid of any of the Americans in here. I do agree with Josh about Cy-Fair, the number 10. I think that's probably the American I want the most. She did beat the boys in the Algonquin last out at Woodbine. And did so pretty impressively, albeit at a pretty heavy favoritism. But she's one that I do like in here. Needs to work out a trip from that 10 post, but Irad should be able to save a bit of ground there. Back to Mark's comment, though, I do think Europe probably takes this race, and it's not with the horse you might expect. While I do think that True Love is a very highly regarded filly and is in with a legitimate chance, I actually prefer the horse to her inside, Havana Anna. Watching some of the replays back, this is a filly that strikes me as a horse that is a lot better equipped to handle 5 furlongs around a tight turn at an American track where the race happens fast. There's a lot of early speed. Havana Anna just, to me, feels a lot more built for that kind of a setup. She was leading up until the last couple of jumps in the Cheveley Park last out. Always a good prep race. Just got barely beat by True Love, and that was at 6 furlongs over a course that had some give to it. I think getting to a quick 5 furlongs here at Del Mar really fits Havana Anna. And she's the European that I think the race is probably best suited for. So she's my top pick in here. I'll probably have a couple Euros deeper on tickets, B and C types. The only American I have interest in really is Cy-Fair.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think you guys have talked about most of the major players. The only other horse that I do have some interest in, Caleb did mention True Love. Sure, she's very well touted. She's very well thought of. But I actually like the other Aiden O'Brien horse in here quite a bit. That's Mission Central. And again, this is one of those horses. There's a big difference between 5 and 6 furlongs, and I know that. And I realize her 5 furlong races are not nearly as good as her 6 furlong stuff. But I thought that last out effort. She's beating some big fields. She's beating some really talented horses in here. If you're going to be 20 to 1 on an Aiden horse that he feels fit is to ship over. Obviously, he does bring a lot of horses, but he also wins a lot of these Breeders' Cup races. So I thought Mission Central was actually really interesting in here at 20 to 1.
I laughed a little bit, Caleb, because you were talking about how the Europeans have figured this horse out. My bold prediction, and of course, I'm probably just going to mention everything I already mentioned on the podcast. Maybe you don't have to listen to it. But there's Andrew. You can listen to Andrew. I was like, I kind of like a lot of the Americans in this spot. I thought maybe the Americans actually fill out the trifecta in this spot. So I think I saw some talk in the chat too, right? I see Russ, he's talking about Lenaloo.
Yeah,
Um,
you have to talk about Schwarzenegger and Lenaloo in this spot.
Stephen Fox loves Schwarzenegger. He's talking about there.
He's saying with him in the pick 6.
Mike is 6 and 11. I believe that's is that Intricate Spirit? Intricate Spirit and Schwarzenegger. So yeah, there's I do think I actually really like the American horses in this race. And it was funny. I was telling the story where Mark thought I was trolling, and then Caleb was like, "Did you even look at the PPs?" Because I love True Love in the longer race, and I didn't realize that this was her first preference. So I was a little bummed out by that, but I like the American horses in here. But
yeah, I was just gonna say, I think Schwarzenegger and Lenaloo are the two horses you're gonna probably hear a lot of noise about. I want no part of either one of them. I think they both drew amazingly poorly. I think Schwarzenegger in his debut was very, very exposed by Atfield, who came back to not really run that well down the duct. I realized he won that fight, the Indian Summer at Keeneland. I don't really think that much of the two horses that he beat that day. And, he's a speedball, but the problem is with the speedball, I don't know how he's going to get clear because there's a lot of other speedballs in this race. This isn't a race devoid of speed like that Indian Summer was. So he's going to have a lot of work to do. And Johnny V is going to have to invent a trip. He's going to have to figure out how to pass other horses. And I don't know if he knows how to do that. The horse I am a little more interested in is Lenaloo, who is a horse that is 4-5 lifetime and ran absolutely huge in the Queen Mary. Ran third in I don't know how, there's a million horse field. I don't know what it was, but 23 horse field is it? Absolutely massive field, ran a huge race. The definite local horse, again, don't take this one at a short price. I think this horse needs to take a major step forward, and this is a real class test. But you're going to probably hear a lot about it if you're listening to the streams because they love to talk about Patrick Biancone because they get to put his daughter on screen.
Anything else in this race you guys want to talk about?
The only thing I would say is I think some of the also eligibles are interesting. I know we've talked about should have, who I think is very interesting. He draws in. I also think the 16. I kind of dunked on Rogue Legend already. But if Rogue Legend does draw in, is an interesting player if Flavian ends up on that one. But you're gonna need some help in there, and I don't think that happens.
All right, let's move on then. Race 7, the BC Juvenile Fillies. I thought this was kind of a wide open race, or at least had a couple of horses I liked in here. I've written down 3 A's. I think there's one horse I like a little bit more than the rest, but Caleb, I'll let you go first here. Where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I thought this was a really tough race. I have a hard time having a lot of confidence in 2-year-old fillies to show up with their race come November with pretty limited sample sizing. I respect Explora. I mean, she is proven around 2 turns, kind of at this distance. I mean, she has good tactical speed. She's not one that really excites me, though. I don't think that she's really a standout on figures. She's just kind of a contender, and I'm not really keen to bet a horse that really has no speed figure advantage at a pretty short price. So for that reason, the horse that I kind of ended up as my top pick in a race where I'll admittedly be pretty spread is the number 1, Iron Orchard. I wish that she had a 2-turn race, but historically the Frizette and the Alcibiades have kind of been the dominant preps for this race. I think like the last, 7 or 8 years, the winner of this race has come from one of those 2 races as a prep. The Frizette this year, I thought maybe not quite as strong as years past, but nevertheless, I just thought there was a really game effort to show a different dimension by Iron Orchard, who in her first 2 starts went gate to wire, won by open lengths, and then moved up from New York bred restricted company into a grade 1, came from, well off the pace. and then closed to get up with a really gutsy effort. I thought she ran big that day, still has to answer the 2-turn question, but at a price of 6-1, I think you're getting paid to take that risk. So for me, Iron Orchard is kind of the horse that I want to, seems like she's, stretching out for more ground, shouldn't be a problem, is improving on her speed figures and heading the right direction, and is coming out of a pretty historically productive race. There's a few other ways, I might consider going, but I guess, Mark, I saw you nod earlier. Is that where you landed?
Yeah, that's where I landed as well. It's funny because Josh, we're obviously trying to put together some content around the Breeders' Cup, and Josh said, "Hey, I need you guys to put together a couple of these quick pick shorts, and not to tip it out. Please click on it and like it and do all the things. So
please click on it anyway."
Yeah, but no, Iron Orchard is going to be my pick of the day. I think on this card, a really tough competitive card, but I'm getting a price on a horse that likes to win, and I don't think the stretch out is going to be a huge issue. She got one turn, quite well at the duct. It looked like she wants to go further. I think she's a very, very interesting player here. And I think I love these kind of races where you have these sort of sexier connections, with Bob Baffert having a couple in here. And you have somebody like Tammy Jo, who seems to be getting a lot of hype. I'm hearing a ton about that horse. I love when somebody like Danny Gargan, who has a good horse, and his horse is probably getting ignored. And I can see that horse even drifting up off that 6-1 morning line. So Iron Orchard, I think, is the horse I'm most interested in this race. A couple other places I can go, but go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, I'm not even remotely close, I think, to you guys. I don't have Iron Orchard on any of my tickets. I was a little afraid of the pace in the spot, and it's tough. And I love using time form. Even when we were, only showing Briz BPs, obviously I was basically using time form in the background, and you're looking at Briz too. But for the most part, been using time form mainly, probably for the last year or two. But they have it coded as a fast pace. Sometimes in these stakes races, I feel like, especially the young stakes races, they always have a fast pace coded, especially when you start getting to races with 10 or more horses. Just because in those races, you got horses with limited sample size who've all won wire to wire, it's tough to see. So I was kind of curious what you guys kind of thought of the pace scenario in this race. I thought of the kind of front runners, I was probably most interested in the 5 Tommy Jo. Obviously Percy's Bar got the best of him, or best of her last time. And I don't know. It's just you see these horses kind of go, around and finish second and first, and there's no change of position. But if you look back at Tommy Jo's second race, the spin away, she was able to, sit just off and kind of close in and win in that race in a good effort. So I kind of like Tommy Jo here as a horse that I've definitely seen pass other horses. I mean, Percy's Bar in the spin away also kind of was coming late, but was 6.5 lengths off of Tommy Jo in that race. So, this is one of Caleb's favorite things where you get these horses that just keep beating each other. And whose turn is it to win this time? But that being said, my top pick is actually the 2 Bottle of Rouge, which is the Baffert horse in here. And this is the horse that's won it a couple different ways, sitting right up on the pace. And then last time, it was kind of sitting 2 lengths off and was able to kind of close in. And so I thought that versatility was going to be important here, especially with the inside draw, just because, you do have a bunch of other horses that have shown speed. And so I think Bottle Rouge is going to be able to kind of sit just off and probably get a nice stalking trip in this race. And this is a horse that's improved in her 3 starts, keeps Mike Smith aboard. This is the Baffert that is also owned by Baffert, Natalie Baffert. So of the 2, that's the Baffert I'm going to use in this spot. Obviously Explora has the experience, the 2-turn experience, and is probably going to be pretty short in this spot. But I'm going to use 2 and 5 as my kind of my topics. And the long shot I'm going to use, and it's that damn Pratt Simp button's not working. The 9 Lawali. And honestly, the only reason I have this horse on my tickets is because this is the horse with the highest late pace figure in a race that does have a lot of horses that have shown early speed. So I thought, hey, maybe there's a chance that this thing falls apart and maybe a horse like the 9 can kind of pick it up. But top pick in this race is going to be the 2 Bottle of Rouge. I know you guys have some other horses you want to talk about. Where do you guys want to go here?
The only one I wanted to mention is the horse that actually finished second to Tommy Jo last out, or via disqualification, was Percy's Bar. I'm not on Tommy Jo simply because she went backwards when they stretched her out on speed figures. And I'll concede that she had trouble. She was legitimately fouled, but I don't think that foul caused her to run the figure that she did. I think she was never going to run as fast in that race as she did in the spin away. And you look at the pedigree, Into Mischief, I guess there's no reason to think she can't see this trip out. But I just don't like the fact that she took a bump and then just really never made up ground again, trying to chase down Percy's Bar. Whereas Percy's Bar has the opposite story. This is a filly who was, a nice filly, but didn't really stand up to Tommy Jo in the spin away. But when they stretched her out, she really responded. I think it depends on whether you think she responded because she got the lead that day and just worked out a good trip. I don't think she gets the lead in this field. Or if the 2 turns and the extra distance is what caused her to move forward there. I don't know if 9-2 is the price that I want to bet her at, but I do think it's curious that she really took a big step forward on the stretch out. And, with Ben Colebrook and Juan Machado, I tend to think we might get a slightly better price in that 9-2 morning line. And she's one that I'm interested in having on a few tickets.
Yeah, I mean, the only other horse that I'm a little interested in here, and I don't know, it's probably more of an underneath kind of play, is the 8-horse Super Cordero, who is a horse that has taken, every single one of her starts. She's gotten better. She's gotten better as they've stretched her out. And, they ran her earlier in the year in Del Mar. They gave her a little bit of a rushing, and she came back and broke her maiden in pretty damn impressive form. Not that far, only a couple of weeks ago. The pedigree says this is the kind of trip she wants to be going, that she wants to be going 2 turns. And you kind of wonder, is this a horse that she's going to get somewhat lost on the board? But also she's been working like an absolute monster in the morning. So, is this one that the stretch out, they've got a little more time to develop, and she's going to be a really nice horse going forward? And it's a little bit of that. If you're looking at some of those other horses, are you looking at somebody like an Explora or a Percy's Bar, Battle of Rouge as horses that are the now horses, and this is sort of that up and coming new fresh face?
Russ mentioning, obviously, when I said Natalie Baffert owns it too. Mike saying Aragona's got a really tight line here. And I think he says he thought Percy would be closer to 6-1, is I guess what he said. Or he had Percy's. I don't know. Maybe he's talking about the Keeneland late line moves, and that he bet Percy at 6-1 and got ticked down to 3-1. I don't know.
I will say there's a few of these lines as we're going to go through to both the Friday and the Saturday card. Aragona is normally extremely sharp, but there's some of these lines that I think you're going to see quite a bit of movement on a few of these.
Here we go.
Oh, am I getting crap?
Here we go
button.
button.
Really? Really?
Oh yeah, we need the here we go button.
Here we go button. Okay.
BC Juvenile Philly Turf here. I'm going to keep it simple. I got Precise as my lone A in here. Outside of that, I think there's a couple other horses I do like, but we'll see what things look like tomorrow, what my tickets look like. But this is possibly a single spot. There's one other horse I think that might get bumped up to an A in the spot, but I'm sure one of you guys also like this horse that I'm going to talk about. But Mark, I'll let you talk. Who did you like here?
Yeah, no, I think this is the thing where going, before the draw, I was like, oh, geez, she's going to be real tough to beat. She's a monster. And then she drew the absolute parking lot. And, and then I went back and I started looking at some of Precise's races. And I know she's very highly regarded. She's very, very well thought of. But I've also seen a couple morning interviews with Christian Suleiman, and they've asked him sort of, what do you think of her compared to some of the other? You have who's probably going to be the favorite or second choice in the turf on Saturday. And, he was talking much more about other mounts he's on than Precise. So I think she might be a little bit vulnerable in here. And, I don't necessarily know what direction I go to beat her, but I think if I can beat her, I get paid really well. So first horse that I'm really interested in is, I didn't want to see Caleb's face when I say this, the Laurel Shipper in the 1 Ultimate Love. Horse is 3 for 3 lifetime. If you're a time form person, she's every bit as fast as everybody else in here. Maybe the company she's been keeping is a little suspect. Maybe she comes out of, a softer racing colony. But again, a horse that keeps taking steps forward. She seems to get better and better every race. She's gotten better as they've stretched her out. She can get the distance, and she can even go further. So they've cut her back a little here in this spot. And I think Ultimate Love is really interesting, at 8-1 on the morning line. The other horse I'm really interested in here is the 5-horse Final Accord at 15-1. And that's another horse that's 2 for 2 lifetime. One of these horses, as they've stretched out, has gotten better and better. What?
I'm like, you're reading my notes. Okay, keep going.
Am I? Okay. And I thought Jose Ortiz had other options in here. It looks like he could have ridden a couple of others. I think seeing Mark Cassey put Jose Ortiz up, if you saw the stuff that they did at Saratoga all summer, it seems to be that's his go-to turf jock. So also these are horses drawn on the inside. I don't think post draw is super huge, but I don't love, somebody like, Precise, who's someone's they're gonna have to invent a trip with her, and I'll take some of the prices towards the inside. A couple of other horses I liked in here, but the Euro simp. Tell me how the Euro wins.
Because she's the fastest. But Precise is too good for this field. She's probably the best 2-year-old horse in Europe right now. Certainly the best 2-year-old filly in Europe. I just think she's much too good for this. She's proven at the mile. No questions about distance. I mean, she's the class of the field. I don't need to sing the accolades of a 6-5. The draw hurts. It does. That probably does, in my mind, maybe move her from a 4-5 to a 6-5, 7-5, maybe. But she's still much the horse to beat. I will say that I don't know that I think as highly of her as I did of Victoria Lake last year, who I also thought was, and clearly was, tons the best. But I also kind of think this is a weaker group of Americans. I mean, we're talking about potentially the second choice being a Laurel Park shipper. I just don't know that I think there's somehow Chad Brown does not have a horse in the race.
How does he not have 3?
I don't know. Just a soft group of local horses here. Even with the bad post, I think Precise can show up with her B- game and still get this win. I'll have a couple Euros maybe on a C ticket type, looking at maybe a horse just to her inside, Pacific Mission, for example, who needs to run a lot faster, but this is really a filly that's improving in leaps and bounds and putting it together in big chunks in each race. Another big jump forward kind of gives her a chance in here. Another horse I have a little interest in is actually the number, where'd she go? The number 9, Time to Dream. Of the Americans, I think she's probably the best. That's reflected in the morning line, unfortunately. She did have some legitimate trouble in the Jessamine at Keeneland, where she had to make her run from pretty far back, got stuck in traffic, had to steady. I don't think she can beat Precise. She didn't draw a ton better than Precise, but she probably is the best of the Americans in here.
I'm laughing because Cobb is posting, if you got any EU buddies, you can get Ultimate Love at 16-1 right now. That's also one of the plays I gave out. I gave out Ultimate Love each way. So I was joking. I was saying that Mark's reading my notes because Ultimate Love is probably the horse I might move up to an A just because of the bad draw, and just maybe use those two. I do also like your 5 Final Accord. I mean, you already mentioned it. The only other horse that I was interested in was the 7 Celebrity Warrior. Kind of a weird horse in that, right, in her maiden race, finished still is a maiden, but in the maiden race that she ran, got the lead and then kind of ended up getting overtaken in that last 16th and finished second by a bit. But got a good time form rating off of that. Comes back in a stakes race at Laurel and unfortunately runs into the buzzsaw that is Ultimate Love. And so regressed in that spot. But I think that there's definitely ability here. I like that you get Louis Sai aboard. He can be aggressive with the horse, and I'm just interested to see if she can run back to that first time form figure. I mean, that at least puts her in the conversation in this race. But maybe more of an underneath play. But I think 13 is probably all you need here. I'll have a little bit of the 1 as well. Ed Burke, he's saying that Ultimate Love is his single, so he loves he's loving the Laurel shipper. Mike asking if can Final Accord stretch out.
Yes.
And I do think, I mean, I think that
it's a War of Will over a Blame. Both of those are classic distance pedigrees.
Well, I mean, saying it's a War of Will. I mean, I don't know that not exactly how to the greatest
stuff.
stuff.
How about a Warfront on top over Blame? I mean, those are both classic distance pedigrees. I don't worry about the pedigree.
I was laughing because Caleb was talking about in the last race about Into Mischief being distance limited, and like, what doesn't Into Mischief have 3 derbies now, or is it 2?
He will always be distance limited. Not up for debate.
Cobb actually has a good question. He's talking about the time form buyer plus 10. He thought there was some conversion from the overseas time form ratings.
There is. So if you're using time form US, if you're going from time form Euro to BSF to buyer speed figs, it's 12 to 15 is what everybody always says. I think 15 is too much for me. I always am in that more 10 to 12 range.
So I have a chart, and I can share it.
It depends on
Ping me
distance
Discord.
and class.
It depends on age.
And age.
2-year-old, it's like a 20-point gap.
Oh, is it that much? Okay.
With older horses, it becomes a little bit less. I found it on Timeform's website from the archives years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It may have changed. This was like 2010 era, so maybe they changed the way they do things. But yeah, it does vary. But for older horses, it is about 10 to 12 points.
Okay.
Yeah, and I generally think that even on the Timeform site, like Precise, for example, you see the 102 Timeform. I don't know if it's just because Europeans always run better here, but there's generally improvement. There's usually between like 7 or 8 points, I think, difference there, which is kind of why, like, when you see a horse like Precise who's running just as fast as these American horses on the Euro Timeform number, or the numbers from the European Timeform form, generally that means that they're running faster than the American horses. I don't know what the exact number is, but there is a difference there as well. Race 9.
Can I one other thing before we go?
Oh, yeah, go for it, man.
The only other horse that I think I wanted to mention is the 6-horse Switch in Love. I realized her Timeform figs are too slow. She took a big step forward first to second time out. And there are, we always talk about there's going to be a time and a place when Japan ships over and just cleans house in these types of races. We're seeing them bring more and more horses over that are really good. This one has a pedigree that's just filthy. Deep Impact on top, Galileo on the bottom. And secondly, she's technically got a Contrail who's by Deep Impact. Again, just insane pedigree. And it seems like she's very well met in here. And the clockers in the morning have just been loving what they've been seeing out of her. She looks relaxed. She looks professional. There's a bit of a noted thing. A lot of these Japanese horses ship over, and they are not that. They get heady in the mornings. They kind of behave badly. This is not one of them. This seems to be a horse that's running, really working well in the mornings, looking really good, looks the part. So I don't know if this horse can necessarily win. Again, maybe more of an underneath type, but I think this is an underneath type at a really big price, a horse that kind of gets ignored.
Mike's saying he likes to convert Racing Post to Briz by multiplying 0.85. So he's using Racing Post figures to Briz, which is
there you go.
Flowntown's asking, will there be bonus picks for Arapahoe Park when we wrap up this Breeders' Cup nonsense?
Absolutely.
So,
Yes, 100%.
Are they even running right now?
Yes, they are.
I think they actually are.
You can go skiing in the day, and you can go to the racetrack in the evening.
So Russ is saying he like Del Mar turf because of consistency compared to Keeneland. I thought their Euros don't like going to California to run the turf.
Clearly, if you listen to any of the European trainers, they know what horses like a firmer turf. They know what horses like more cut in the ground. They tend to point those horses here. So a lot of the selection of, hey, we're going to Del Mar. Okay, here's the group of turf horses that we bring over versus we're going to Keeneland where we're going to bring a very different group of horses over. When you're 8 and you have a million horses, you can do that kind of thing.
BC Juvenile, mile 16th here on the main track. Your morning line favorite in here is the 8, Ted Noffey, named after, I believe, Ned Toffee, who he works for Spendthrift, I think, right?
Yeah, he's one of the senior people at
Spendthrift.
Yep.
And he's 4 to 5, very aggressive on the morning line for Ted Noffey. We've already, there's already been a call for help, and we have a certain person in the house that if if he says that he's going to bet this horse, we actually have a stop.
Yeah,
and we have a veto power on this, so
we can just turn off his ADW access, and then we can make sure it doesn't happen if he. Yeah,
I think of the horses in this race. I mean, I've seen this story before. I mean, I think this is Brant's race to lose. This has been Bedford's backyard. My concern really with Brant really is that this is a horse that hasn't run 2 turns yet. And you look at Ted Noffey, who has run 2 turns, ran at 115. But I don't know. I feel like if for a horse at this stage, you would have seen maybe, and granted, he won by 2 3/4. Maybe I'm just trying to poke holes in this horse, but I don't know. Maybe you had seen a bigger jump in that. I mean, I think a 115 is still a very, very solid, 2-year-old figure, but I don't know. And I know. I just think that this is going to set up. I mean, this is, like I said, this is Bafford's backyard. I mean, Brandt's going to be fully cranked for this race. And really the only other horse I have any interest in is another local horse. And that's the one, Intrepido. And really it's just, hey, if this was, once again, if this ends up being a race that kind of gets crazy on the front end, I think this is kind of your mid-pack closer horse in this race. This is a horse that is proven over 2 turns, won the American Pharaoh. And I thought he beat, Desert Gate was a horse that I kind of liked a little bit in some of those Del Mar races over the summer. I think there was the race that Brandt beat him in. Desert Gate was like 5-1, and he was coming, but he just didn't get there. So I thought Intrepido was very interesting in this spot. And those are really the only 2 horses I'm going to use. It's probably going to be more like an A-B situation, where I got most of my money going through Brandt, and then I'll have Intrepido as a lone B. Caleb, you look, I can't tell if you're sick or if like you're just disgusted by what I just said, or
I love half of what you said and I hate half of it. so I'm conflicted is the answer here. I love Intrepido. Would be my pick for the shorts later. Still click them like Mark said. But watching this horse stretch out to 2 turns, getting that race experience, broke the maiden comfortably, going a 2-turn mile at Santa Anita. Not the most impressive race. He got pretty slow fractions that day. But the American Pharaoh was quite the visually impressive effort where he was boxed in, stuck behind horses, took him a while to get clear. Excuse me. And once he did, this horse was just kicked it into overdrive. I mean, ran right by Desert Gate, who, to your point, is a nice colt. I think Intrepido is kind of getting slept on here. I think Hector works on a nice pocket trip, sitting off of other speeds. I'm a big Intrepido fan in here. Probably does need to step forward to win this race. But there's so many other horses with questions in this race. And the part that I hate about what Josh says is Brandt. This is a horse that I guess it depends on the figures that you're looking at. On Foreman Brisnet, he basically ran a very similar race twice in a row. On Beyer and Thoroughgraphs, his Del Mar Futurity was significantly slower. I mean, fall off a cliff slower than what we saw in his maiden victory. And that was with a cozy, cushy trip. 4 of the 6 runners were Bafferts. Nobody pushes him on the lead. It's a 1-turn, 7 furlongs. Now he's going to 2 turns. I agree. Pedigree says he should get it. But there's a lot of question marks for me about a horse that I think is just probably more hyped than talent right now. So I don't love Brandt in this spot. If I had to take a shorter price, I probably would go with Ted Nafi. I don't think Ted Nafi is built for this distance, looking at his pedigree, but he did get the job done at Keeneland pretty convincingly, beating 2 of today's opponents as well. So I don't know what we'll get from Ted Nafi, but if I had to take a shorter price, it would be him over Brandt. I'm not sure that I'll use either of them, truthfully. The only horse in this race I genuinely like is Intrepido. And then maybe I throw in some of the bombs, the 30-1s on a C ticket just for calamity insurance. But this is not a race where I feel good about the short prices.
Yeah, I like Ed Burke. He's saying that he's hoping Barrios does well this weekend, but he was surprised that he got booted off a fair bit of his turf mounts.
A lot of legit turf jocks that shipped in from out of town, and
turf god Hector Barrios. Like, why would you take off the turf god?
You had Hector Barrios or Flavian Pratt. Which one you putting on?
Oh, I put Barrios on.
Now you're lying. Where's the button? Where's the button? No, so Josh led in with this whole segment with this. I've seen this story before, and I'm going to land on. He said the first part right, and then he landed on the wrong horse. The story last year was the other Baffer that won, and I kind of really like the other Baffer in here. I think Litmus Test is a really interesting horse. Horse has gotten better and gotten faster the last 3 starts. Stretched out first time going long, so you get second time long here, which is oftentimes an improvement angle. This horse is also working really well in the morning. If you have questions over Brandt getting the 2-turn trip, and I think there's also a lot of questions over Todd Pletcher historically shipping 2-year-olds to the Breeders' Cup has not done well. And so I think there's a lot of people that, and nobody said it yet, but I think they're a little hesitant on Ted Nafi because there's a story here that's happened a lot of times. I wonder if somebody like Litmus Test at 15-1 on the morning line, I don't think you really get that. But if you're a speed figure person, going 2 turns last time out, Litmus Test ran the same speed figure that Brandt did going 1 turn. So I really wonder, is Litmus Test the horse here of the Bafferts that you want? And if you have questions about Ted Nafi, is that a really interesting player? I mean, for me, that's a horse that I think at a really huge price is a really interesting one in the spot. I like Caleb's Intrepido. I think there's a case to be made for something like the 2-horse Blackout Time, although you might want Blackout Time next spring, not right now. Just, McPeak tends to take a while developing some of these. So wide open affair, but I think if you're really forced me to pick my top choice, it's going to be Litmus Test.
Yeah, Russ really likes Blackout Time. He says too bad McPeak's a trainer, probably because, like you said, he brings him around kind of slow.
Yep.
Cobb pointing out that Jeff Melham's 2-year-old stats are insane. Mike's been in lockstep with us. He likes Intrepido here, the one. So
I knew I liked him.
There you go. Cobb also he says Intrepido looks nice. Steve's got a good question for the end of the stream. We'll talk. We got to make sure we get back to that one. Anything else in this race?
Nope. We talked about all of them.
All right. BC Juvenile Turf. Going a mile here on the turf course. Your morning line favorite is Justad here at 9-5, all the way on the outside post. Now, Caleb, I know earlier on the card, right, we were talking about an outside drawing favorite you really, really liked. Justad, you kind of feeling the same way about him, or you have a little more questions here?
No, I'm actually off of the Gustad train. I think he's a very, very talented colt. A lot of folks, in Europe, are kind of questioning his will to win. He feels like he should have gotten the job done in a couple of those starts. And I don't know if it's a competitiveness, heart issue. I kind of wonder if he just isn't ready at this stage of his career to stretch out to where they're trying to run it. Watching him visually, he doesn't really look like a horse that really is getting better as he goes from 6 up to 7. Probably just 1 at 6 furlongs, where he feels like he's supposed to be at this point. And then moved up to 7 and, was upset by a pretty long shot in the Darley Dewhurst by a Guin at a pretty big number when he was 8-5 favoritism that day. So I just, with the post draw, I am comfortable with Gustad beating me. I just don't think he's a horse that he is the best horse in the race and the fastest horse in the race. I don't think a 2-turn fast mile at Del Mar from that post is going to set him up to be successful. So no, I am off of Gustad. That being said, I'm also off the reservation a little bit here with the horses I ended up with.
Oh, I am as well.
Because I have, I ended up with 2 horses that are, I'll save the second for Mark because I know it's a horse you like. So I'm going to talk about another horse that's even more absurd than Mark's pick. And I hate to start off with an absurd horse, but I just don't like any of the shorter prices in here.
Same.
I don't think you win this race being forwardly placed. Traditionally, Del Mar on the turf routes with the rails down, it is hard to wire. Argos, I have no interest in. I thought the summer stakes at Woodbine was a very soft race.
Yep.
Wild Desert was the horse you want to take out of that. That horse did not ship over for this. So for me, the short prices are just not that exciting. So I ended up on 2 horses. Like I said, one of them I'll punt to Mark. But the one I will talk about is the number 6 North Coast. And this is a horse who, admittedly, Mark is also on.
Yeah,
I didn't know he liked that one. But, I mean, I don't care that he's 30-1. I'm not even looking at that. But this is just a horse who, it's a European horse who had a uncharacteristically poor running, in the Group 1 at the Corral last time. But prior to that, I mean, this horse didn't miss the board, had a smashing win in the Group 3 in the Leopardstown race. Leopardstown form, I've kind of mentioned a couple of our Breeders' Cup oriented streams. I believe that tends to translate pretty well to American form, given the form of the course, the way that the left-handed track, relatively tighter turns for European courses with a more galloping nature. I think that form translates well, and North Coast had a runaway win there. Admittedly, it was a 4-horse field. But this is a horse that, to lean on one of Mark's angles, maybe a bit of an every other type. Maybe just didn't quite handle the Corral that day. Maybe didn't love the cut in the ground. But in a race where I just have no interest in most of the Americans, and I don't like the poorly drawn heavy favorite, I'm gonna take some shots here, and I think North Coast is as good of a shot as any.
So real quick, I do want to point out a comment I saw from David Piers, which I think is hilarious. He said that everyone who says they chose Intrepid puts money on him, he might be 2-1. He seems like the wise guy.
Yeah, he does. I've heard a lot.
It's really funny because we, especially for any of you guys who are new here, I feel like Mark and I are kind of usually on polar opposites. And yeah. What's been crazy is actually this last week, Mark and I have been in step on a lot of stuff, which is just very scary. So this is either going to be a great weekend for us, or this is going to be tragic. It's going to be just an absolute bloodbath, and we're going to have to go to the casino to make it up. But and Caleb tends to kind of, be in the middle of us, which is kind of funny the way we're sitting here, but
it's appropriate. It's thematic.
Yeah, but of course, when all three of us are on a horse, usually that means that
you're not. What was the horse? Feisman a couple weeks ago?
Yeah,
8-1 at Keeneland, went off 2-1 favoritism. We were all on it. It did win at least, but yeah.
But remember when we did the in-person thing at Hawthorne?
The Indiana Derby horse.
Remember it was
this was a stupid.
Yeah, and it was that was it the Mott horse, I think.
It
right?
was the Bill Mott horse, the marathon runner horse.
Yeah, I forget the name of him, but he was just super short. But I know. Mark, you're going to be. I'm guessing you guys aren't going to be anywhere near the other horses either, because I am going to use Justad. I mean that the speed figures are just kind of too big to ignore, but maybe he's going to run a huge figure in second again. My other A in this race is actually the 10.
That's the horse I was going to talk about.
Did you? It was?
That's the horse.
Well, go ahead, Mark. Go ahead. I'll let you go then.
No,
so wait, we are in trouble because Mark and I
we're all on the same ass.
Say goodbye to 15-1 or
no.
Yeah. So you give me crap about saying Bad Morning Lions, and then we're all joking about RDJ is. I think in today's day and age, you don't see many horses in their entire career have 11 starts, let alone a 2-year-old with 11 starts. But if you look at RDJ's form, this is a horse that has 11 starts and has literally taken a step forward in almost every single one of those starts. This is a horse that likes to win, 5 of 11 lifetime. You're getting Oisin Murphy, who, to me, if you have to tell me to pick the best jock coming out of Europe, that's the jock. And this is a horse that just seems to be kind of just trending in the right way. Horses getting a little better every race, likes to win. I'm going to get a price. And, I think that this is just a horse I'm really interested in. Now, the pedigree does not say that this is the trip. And I get that. There's definitely questions over, is this really a one turn or a straight line 6 furlong horse, or with the little bit of extra distance, do well for this one. But, Delmar does seem to kind of carry it a little bit fast, does seem to kind of carry horses. So I think Ardisia is just a really, really interesting horse in this race. But again, I think I was a lot like Caleb in here. I don't like any of the short priced horses. I know Caleb mentioned the 6 North Coast. I think that's a really interesting horse. I know Cobb in chat was talking about the 3-horse Outfielder. I think Outfielder is a really interesting horse in here. This is a horse that debuts on turf at Churchill, wins for fun. They send this one to Deauville to run in the Prix Maurice, which is a major, major prep, and doesn't get embarrassed. Is 4th by 2 3/4 lengths. And then he comes back and gets a prep into this one at Keeneland. I don't know why they ran him in a dirt prep beyond just they needed a race. But, I think that the fact that this is one that they did do that dirt prep, you might get people going, oh, is this a kind of a, what is this? And you might get that 10-1. I thought Outfielder was, a really interesting horse here with a pedigree that this one should be able to stretch out. And, the other horse that I thought was a little bit interesting is the 13 horse, Hey Nay Nay, who is on the outside, 3 for 3. You're getting Joel up for Sadler. Those two, do very well together. Horse that again is trending forward, does have a mile going this, or does have a win going this mile trip. And another one of these horses that seems to be kind of progressing at every start. So, I think that of the 4 I gave out, the shortest about 8-1. I think this is a race that's kind of ripe for a price. And and I think you go into this race, and my thought was Augustad is the horse to beat. Very well thought of in Europe. I think all the points that Caleb brought up are very prominent here. I watched some of the replays, and I just couldn't kind of get over this horse. Looked like he there's no problems there. He had every opportunity. He had a bunch of great trips. He just doesn't seem to quite have it all together yet. Maybe he puts it together at the Breeders' Cup, booms us all at a short price, but I'll pay to try to find some prices that that have some payouts here.
Yeah, so I just looked real quick overseas. Justad is evens in some spots, 11 to 10, 5 to 4, 6 to 5. You're getting that kind of price. Ardisia is sitting at 16 to 1. So
a good price.
So we might actually get that price over here. So I'm gonna have to contact my European friends and add Ardisia each way to the betting ticket for the card. Unfortunately, I really have nothing to say because Mark covered all the horses I like. I like Justad. I know you guys are a little more against, but Ardisia is the other A. And then my lone B in this race is the 3 outfielder. Granted, I know that, we've talked about this, that Del Mar is not very speed favoring. But I mean, I look at this race and there's just nothing, and there's just no speed in here. I mean, maybe Street Beast has got some speed, but he's kind of been forwardly placed. And, that was at Kentucky Downs, which, was kind of playing forward. And, we had that crazy stat that, Ed DeRosa posted where horses that have run at Kentucky Downs are 0 for some huge number.
It's 0 for 70 at this point,
which is wild. I do think with them removing some of the grade in the turf and it kind of becoming a little bit.
Let's hope not for this Breeders' Cup, because I'm tossing every Kentucky Downs.
Yeah, I learned my lesson with Cogburn. So
But I did think that outfielder. I thought outfielder was very, very interesting in here. Now, granted, you look at the breeding and you're like, okay, this is a sprinter, but
it's also a Wes Ward horse, and sometimes they defeat their breeding.
There's
certain trainers that seem to be able to get horses to do stuff that don't make sense on paper.
And Mark, did you mention you talked about Hey.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, I don't think I believe it, but on Thoroughgraphs, this horse is extremely fast.
Yes,
this horse is the second fastest horse in the race.
I don't love the post. The post is not great.
Post isn't great, but a horse should clear. So may not be an issue. I just don't know that a California-based turf horse can win this race.
Yeah.
They have never hit the exact in the history of this race.
Not that you have any bias or anything.
Yes.
Yeah. Ed Burke's a fan of the 7, Gordon Pass. He says, I read at 20 to 1, sign me up. Russ, he likes the 10 and the 13 for him. He says, for me, food Thoroughgraph. I guess he means good Thoroughgraph.
Yeah, I'm sure it's a typo. That's what I was kind of. That comment is what caused me to comment on. That 13 does have great sheets numbers.
Great sheets.
And then Cobb, he says Oss by Oss pedigree, and they're trying to make him a miler. Rookie mistake by Aiden O'Brien, but he was interested to hear what we thought about outfielder. So hopefully we give him some.
The rookies. So.
Anything else on this Friday card?
I don't have the undercard done, so not for me.
I would say I will be sitting and watching the undercard if some sort of bias change happen. I do want to see the race 2 and race 4 on the turf. So, we talked about the dogs being out for today. They're going to, bring them in. You're going to be on the rails. So I will be just kind of watching. Is there any bias going on? That's the one thing I'll be paying attention to. But beyond that, it's not a super great undercard. It's playable if you want to play a pick 5, dabble around, keep yourself entertained, have some fun. Always a good time.
So you guys will get a kick out of this because I was talking with I was in chat with a couple of our friends, and our friend Bobby. He's like, "What do you guys think of race 4 on was it race 4 on Friday or something?" Like it was some turf sprint, allowance race. Everyone's like, Bobby, we're trying to cover the stakes races. And Bobby's like, I'm just telling you, man, there's this horse in race 4. You guys got to be. He's like, you guys, the leaderboard's not even going to be up, and I'm going to have 50K, and you guys be wondering how it happened. I'm just telling you.
They put it up after 3 though.
Oh, okay. So he's going to be up there.
It will be up.
Yeah, I'm hoping to get. I think I'm going to be getting dinner and drinks hopefully with him next week. So that should be fun.
Bobby's awesome. I love Bobby.
But let me go ahead and so like I said, if traditionally we used to do these streams over 2 days, but obviously we're in person. We're going to want to hang out, and I mean, depending on how good or bad tomorrow goes, we might not be in any shape to go live. So we're going to do Saturday's card as well. BC Filly Mare Sprint, race 4 here, and honestly, guys, maybe this is just. Do I have the Baffert simp up here? But I thought Hope Road was close to a single in this race. I think the 6 Sweet Azteca. I think I have some questions there. You know, I really just think that Hope Road is kind of the I mean, kind of a battle tested horse. Has just gone against some really, really nice horses, and I just think that you know, you come to the BC Filly Mare Sprint. It's a 7 furlong race, and it's just not a distance that some of these horses really either want or have run well at. And like granted, right, Sweet Azteca is won at a mile, but I mean that was a candy ass trip against a Dare Manor. You know, it's gone 6.5, and it's like, okay, is there really a big difference between 6.5 and 7? Like maybe not, you know, but hasn't, you know, you're talking about a 2-to-1 horse that you know, at least in the last 12 races hasn't run at 7 to the furlongs. Whereas Hope Road, I kind of feel like if you look at her best races, they're actually going 7 furlongs. So I kind of think that she's maybe a bit of a 7 furlong specialist. So I like Hope Road in this spot. And really the only horse I have as a B is the 1 Zeitlos. And this is just kind of like, hey, you know, we've seen this race. I feel like we get just some absolutely wonky results in this race.
Yep.
And I just, for some reason, I'm just like sitting here and I'm like, I've probably said the word this race could melt like 3 times already. But like, I mean, if this race melts and it's Rosario sitting all the way in the back on the horse that definitely is going to want to be closing, like, I don't know. I'm going to have this horse on at least a couple of tickets. But other than that, I'm basically all through Hope Road in this spot, and is my lone A in this spot. So, Mark, you got sick when I said that, so I'm guessing you hate Hope Road in here.
I don't hate Hope Road. Can Hope Road win? Totally, Hope Road could win. Do I think Hope Road is going to be substantially shorter priced on the board than her chances of win? Oh yeah, she will be. And I think depending on how you're looking at this race, if you're in a pick 5 or something, yeah, you probably use her equally to some others in here. But if you're playing like doubles or something like that, I think you just kind of toss her and try to get around her. You know, she hasn't done anything amazing. She doesn't have any crazy figure that blows you away. And, you know, she won the Ballerina last time out, but before that, she seemed to kind of have a case of secondinitis. Was getting beat up by the likes of Copion, who's, you know, ended up in a different race in here. You know, I think there's an argument to be made that there are other horses that are just going to provide better value. And I guess that's how I landed. The one of them is the other Baffert, Splendora, who does love her some Delmar. Her Delmar figs fit really well here. You know, and I think she's an interesting player. You know, I think Josh was talking about what happens if this race comes apart and Rosario, yada, yada. I think something like Splendora is the horse you want if this race comes apart. She's going to be able to sit, you know, really more a tactical trip, sit 3 or 4 lengths off and kind of pick off the pieces if this does come apart. And then the other horse that I'm really, I think is, I realize it's the favorite, but I think Sweet Azteca is a very interesting horse in here. I don't think she actually goes off as your favorite, though. I think Hope Road ends up your favorite because I think there are a lot of Josh Rodriguez's who are going to go, oh, I've seen this story before. I'm going to bet the Baffert. And, oh, that's the Baffert that everybody wants. I think Sweet Azteca ends up your second choice. It appears that Juan had some choice in here, and he ends up there. So, you know, I think for me, I'm going to try to get around a Hope Road, and I'm going to use somebody like a Splendor or a Sweet Azteca.
Yeah, I guess let's talk Hope Road for a minute. I do think she's your most likely winner. I agree with Josh on that. I also would be tickled to get 4-1 on Hope Road. I think you swap the odds of her and Sweet Azteca. Nope. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. Sweet Azteca, I want nothing to do with. Ironically enough, this race has never been wired. Pace setters are 0 for 18 in this race and have only hit the board a handful of times. I know there's not a ton of speed in here, but it isn't like Sweet Azteca's proven at 7 furlongs anyway. So I do kind of think she's not one that I want. I think Hall and Ice probably does enough to keep her honest, and probably one of the Bafferts in here as well. I do think Hope Road is the most likely. I think you can give her a little forgiveness because a lot of those seconds came against Kopion, who would be a head and shoulder single in this race for me if she ran here. The fact that she doesn't run here and that she goes to take on the boys and, at 6 furlongs, where I truly think she's better at 7 furlongs, to me, that kind of indicates Richard Mandela has a lot of confidence in his other runners in this spot. You don't punt on a Breeders' Cup race where you would be a big
Tamara.
favorite.
Christ, Caleb.
I'm not on Tamara, but I think I was offered totally until that defection. But that really caused me to take notice of not just Tamara, but also of the other. No, it is just Tamara in this race. I'm sorry. Tamara in this race, who that's his only runner in here, and he gave up what would have been a very, very likely winner. So to me, that speaks a little bit about the volumes of the confidence he has in her horse. She's clearly a horse with some soundness issues. Has had trouble staying on the racetrack, but her good race probably wins this. It looks like, according to the snake oil, she's been working up a storm in the mornings. And, I kind of get it, so 7-2 is an awful price, but she's not one that I'll probably let totally beat me in this race. I don't think I need to be very deep. I think those are your two most likely winners. I'm probably not going to go much deeper besides that. The only horse I might throw on a deep ticket would actually be a horse who I probably expect to be the longest price in the field. The number 5, Fille Blanche, the Japanese Invader. Went back to some of the replays. If you draw a line through all of her 9 furlong races, and there's quite a few on her form, it looks a lot better. You ignore some of those 9 furlong races and look at the mile, or especially the 7 furlong race. And it was by far, the best race of her career. I don't know that she's quite this good. Time Form has her a little too slow to win. Thoroughgraph has her squarely in the conversation. At 30-1, if there's ambiguity about whether a horse is fast enough to win or not, I'm going to use it. I'll pay to find out. So for me, I think she gets kind of a mid-pack to closing trip at a big number, and probably more likely underneath than on top, but as a horse that I'll be using on some of my tickets.
So I get that you don't love Sweet Azteca on the fact that this race doesn't often get wired or has never been wired, but I think it's a little bit remiss not to mention she does have a win at going a mile, and she's got wins going at 6.5. So 7 furlong probably isn't the concern. The concern is more the, can she wire this field, right?
No, that's a fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Man, it's funny because you mentioned the thing about Richard Mandela, and it's like, if it was almost any other trainer, you're like, okay, whatever. But like the most probably conservative trainer, the guy who doesn't take shots.
Yes, yeah. Well, you also kind of wonder again that Mandela does tend to be a very conservative trainer. Did he just not want to run his horses versus one another?
He has big city lights in the sprint.
Okay.
That's what I was thinking of earlier.
Okay. I just have
coming off like a year layoff.
I hate Tamara for a lot of reasons 2 years ago. So let's just
Well, my issue with Tamara is the price. In my book, in the book of she's going to be. She should be
5-2, 2-1.
She should be 6 or 8-1.
She should be, but she's going to probably be shorter than that.
Yeah. I got her 4-1 overseas right now.
But that's some Aragon wise guy shit. That
I do see Hope Road. You can get 5-1 at Hope Road overseas right now.
What are we missing?
I don't know, man. Like I gotta. Maybe I gotta
wire your FIFA buddy.
I gotta wire some money
we'll wire
over
the
there.
crypto over, and
you are not going to get that for her on Saturday. I can guarantee you are not going to get that.
I see a lot. I see 9-2 everywhere. I see 5-1 at a couple of places, which is wild.
So the game here is to bet the dirt horses in Europe, and then to bet the turf horses in the U.S.
Probably
is the
is that the game? Okay.
Del Mar Race 5. We got the BC Turf Sprint. I thought this was pretty straightforward. I only got 2 horses in this race that I liked. Mark, last year you made a mint on this race.
I did. I should have made a much bigger mint, though.
Well, we could have said that about a lot of races.
We could have.
I
don't have a 40-1 that's going to win this race, though. I'm sorry.
That's Istanbul Gaming Exact that was there for the taking.
Yeah, thanks, bud. Keep reminding me.
Or
the double
from the double. The double. Your two large win bets that you didn't double into. Yeah.
The free square that
But Mark, where did you kind of land here?
You're gonna make me talk here. So I think that the conversation is really going to be, and again, I don't want to poke it Mr. Aragona's lines here, but everybody, all I hear about is Arizona Blaze and about how Arizona Blaze is just this monster and Arizona Blaze is going to destroy everybody. I have done more replay work than I care to admit. I think Arizona Blaze is a very talented horse. I just don't know if I have been as impressed with Arizona Blaze as it seems as though everybody else has been. So I think, I know Josh said he needs one horse. I need a lot in here. I was pretty spready in here. I think I found somebody like Reef Runner, the 2, very interesting in here. A horse that's won 3 in a row. Does have a nice second place win, but
no, didn't win 2 back.
It's crossed the line first 3 times in a row.
Oh, crossed the line 3 times in a row. That was Paco's suspension. Yeah.
Oh, so you're saying I used that? Yeah. Okay. The differentiation there. Yeah. It has crossed the line 3 times in a row in first place. This is a 5 furlong race. This one does just seem to really relish this 5 furlong trip. And again, a horse that wins at 5 furlongs, it comes from a little bit off of it. So I thought Reef Runner was really interesting in here. The horse that I think is extremely interesting, specifically because of the distance, is going to be the 5 horse Bring the Band Home, who's a horse, who one of those horses you're definitely going to see prominent early and hope he can hold on late. He has all the speed. I know Josh absolutely loves him some Bring the Band Home because Josh has never seen a Super E8 that he didn't love. But I think Bring the Band Home is super interesting in here. I just don't think you get anywhere near that 12-1 morning line unless I'm insane. And the other horse that I was really into, in this race is one of the Euro shippers, and that's the 11 horse, Bucaro Fuente. What do I get?
I see 18-1 overseas. I Bring the Band Home.
Really?
Yeah, it's just wild. Dude.
So I need to bet American turf horses in
yeah,
Europe.
Apparently,
okay.
Yeah.
Is the 11 horse Bucanero Fuente, who's getting, for Adrian Murray, another one of these horses that, does have some wins going this 5 furlong trip. A horse that has seemed to find some form as of late. That form has definitely taken a step forward, and you're getting 20-1 in the morning line. So a horse that I think is a pretty interesting player in here. I honestly, I went a little fishing. I'm going to be a little spreadier in this race. I'm okay trying to find some prices here. You're saying you had a really solid opinion?
Order's been restored. Right, because Mark already trashed Arizona Blaze, and I think Arizona Blaze is probably the horse to beat in this race.
Good.
I just think that Arizona Blaze is coming in with some good form. Honestly, what my biggest concern with Arizona Blaze is, and it's something that Mark loves to talk about. Arizona Blaze is a little bit of an every other horse. You got a little bit of an every other pattern in Arizona Blaze, and so I'm curious. Right, this is the other coming into this race, but I don't know if the long ship, kind of maybe resets that pattern. I mean, this is a horse that has run well fresh. Maybe my only concern with Arizona Blaze, but that's my top pick in this race. The 2 other horses that I like, I think Ag Bullet, unfortunately ran at Kentucky Downs last time out, so maybe I should just need to toss Ag Bullet at this point. But that race at Del Mar last year, Motorius and Ag Bullet, they ran winning races in there, right? They just Starlust just took their lunch in that race. But I think both of them, had run really, really good races in that spot. And this is a horse that has run well traditionally here at Del Mar. So I thought Ag Bullet was interesting. And then Mark already mentioned the other horse, which is Bring the Band Home. And honestly, I was not on this horse until I started looking a little bit at thoroughgraphs, and I started looking at some of the notes, that Jerry Brown had made and talking a little bit. And I kind of came around a little because originally I was like, no. And of course, Andrew Champagne loved this horse. So Andrew's probably going to watch this and be like, you idiot. I told you yesterday, but no, you got to listen to other people. But I do think Bring the Band Home is in here with a bit of a shot. And like I said, I looked overseas right now. I see 18-1 in some places. So, maybe he doesn't get bet here. But I'm gonna have most of my money going through Arizona Blaze. This isn't a super high confidence race for me by any means. But I do like Arizona Blaze in here. Honestly, my biggest opinion is probably that I'm against Motorius in this spot. you know, and granted, he's run all right. He's run well at 5 furlongs, but I don't know. I've always, for some reason, in my mind, thought he'd be better going like 6, 6.5. And I mean, but he does have some wins and seconds going 5. So maybe I'm just, misremembering it. And it's just tough, like, to bet a horse like that, who you know is going to be 8 lengths off, 5, 6, 7, 8 lengths off, going 5 furlongs, But maybe if it is going to happen somewhere, it's Del Mar. But Caleb, where did you land here?
Yeah, I can be pretty quick in this because I like all the horses you guys have mentioned in some form or fashion. I think Motorius is a very likely winner, kind of maybe pivoting away from Josh's take there. He will need to find the trip from the rail and having to pass most of the field. But he has to do that every single time he runs. And typically he manages to do so. I do think he's a very likely winner of this race. I like Reef Runner. Reef Runner was taken down 2 back when he did beat Motorius. I don't think it was a justified DQ, but I do think Reef Runner had a phenomenally better trip and an excellent ride, for that matter, by Paco to save all the ground and come up the rail and just barely get across the wire in front of Motorius. I think Motorius ran the better race, but that's why you're also getting twice the price on Reef Runner. Arizona Blaze, I do like. Hasn't performed in Europe as well over firm turf, but did perform in the States last year in this juvenile version of this race on firm turf. So trying not to be too critical there. 5 to 1, I think, is a more than fair price on that horse. I'm not sure you'll quite get that. Bring the Band Home, another one who I think is not a horse you can ever build your day around, because I just have no idea if he's going to fire back to those Saratoga races. But if he does, he wins this race. And I think that's a horse at 12 to 1 or 10 to 1 or 8 to 1 or 16 to 1 that needs to be on all your tickets. And then the last horse I like, Mark mentioned earlier, the number 11, Bucanero Fuerte, who is a speedier version of Arizona Blaze. Expect this horse to be further forward. Probably a good thing given the post. Needs to kind of go from there. More of a 5 furlong specialist, I think, as opposed to 6 or further. But yeah, for me, that probably a B type for that horse. But 20 to 1, fair enough. So I'll be using all of them. Probably the highest confidence around Motorius, Reef Runner, and Arizona Blaze.
David Barista saying, maybe I'm crazy. Arizona Blaze has a fierceness pattern. Seems like it might bounce, which was the every other that we had talked about.
Yeah. And normally when I say every other pattern, that's sort of what happens. You have a horse that requires a huge effort, needs a race to recover, comes back.
And then Flowntown, right? Every other bone and fierceness boomy at the 2024 track.
Yeah. I was with you on that one, man. I had Torpedo Anna for all I was worth.
With a little bit of ride, you were right.
David likes a horse that we didn't talk about, Kadim. Or Kadam, the 4 horse here. It's a horse that had been overseas. It come over here, and ran at Kentucky Downs, ran fine. I actually really liked him in that Kentucky Downs race, and came back in the Woodford and ended up winning that race. So you guys take a look at this horse at all?
I did quite a bit. And this is one of those horses I think we've talked about. There's a couple of things we can talk about here. One is this idea. We talk about what's the speed figure difference. Here's a horse that is running time form European 94s and 98s, and then runs 116s and 116, 117, 118 when it gets to the States. So if you're looking for that conversion of what that number looks like, it's probably that. The problem is this horse has run 3 times in the States, 2 times at Kentucky Downs, 1 time at Keeneland, and run a 116, a 117, and a 118. So I kind of know what this one is. That's not fast enough to win this race. You're going to need to be 123, 124, 125 kind of time form fig. So Kadim, I don't dislike the horse. It's a nice horse. The horse just isn't fast enough to win this race.
Yeah, I think he's a worse version of Motorius.
There you go.
For a 9-year-old horse, you would think they'd have some of the quirks worked out by now, but he still breaks very poorly from the gate. He's very sluggish early. The blinkers are going on, which I think is interesting for this horse. Maybe that makes the difference. But he can't afford to come out slow and spot this field 4 or 5 lengths and be able to win this race. I just think he needs a top, and I don't think he's going to come up with one as a 9-year-old gelding.
All right, race 6, the BC Sprint. I thought this was kind of a tough race. I landed on a price as an A that I actually really, really like. But Caleb, I'll let you kind of start here. Where did you kind of land in this race?
Well, I would be pretty confident we are on the same price as an A. I I am high on Banishing in this
Oh yeah,
race.
baby.
Oh.
Oh yeah, all that.
So pros and cons. Banishing, he's still David Jacobson trained. Don't worry about Chad Summers. It's a trainer insurance policy not being valid in California
Some
deal.
sort of thing,
It's
yeah.
still David Jacobson training this horse. So don't read into the barn change. That being said, this is a horse who I've always thought was better going shorter. He kind of pedigree be damned. I mean, he's always had success going in that 6-7, 1 turn mile kind of a range. Despite the fact that he does have some wins going 9 furlongs, I don't think that's where he's best. And the sprint might be a shade shorter than where I think he's best. I do kind of wish that he was getting 7 furlongs here versus 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I still think he has the talent and the versatility to get the job done here. I mean, I thought that his race way back in May in the Churchill Downs Stakes, admittedly going 7 furlongs, was phenomenal. I mean, I still think that was one of the best races we've seen all year with Mindframe and Nisos and Banishing and whoever else was in that race. I mean, Bookham Dano or Post Time, whoever was in that race. I mean, in that big blanket finish in the slop, just an incredible race. And he hasn't really done anything wrong ever since then. A couple of losses going 9 furlongs, which again, I think is too far, cuts back to a distance that I think is maybe not his best, but is better than 9 furlongs. And my only concern here is that there's a risk he might be a little over the top. He has raced 10 times this year for a 5-year-old gelding. I mean, he's been pretty heavily campaigned. Don't know if we're going to get a best effort from him kind of coming in off short rest and a pretty busy season. But honestly, he doesn't need a career best to win this race. He's run some very fast numbers. And, for me, Banishing at 15-1 is a no-brainer in this race. By far my top selection.
Yeah, and I think if you're very similar to what obviously the two of you are saying, Banishing at 15-1, extremely, extremely interesting. I think there's no way that you get anywhere near 15-1. And I think the other horse that it really is an overseas book.
I don't know. Ask him to look.
Oh, okay. I was saying the other horse that is at a stupid price that I don't think you get, but maybe you do on some dirtied up form. Oh, that Josh faces, we're getting everybody.
I see 22-1 in some spots.
Oh boy, I'll take all that. So another horse that's at an absolutely stupid price is Street No Chaser. And I realize there are a lot of people who are going to say he's washed up. But if you look at the fact that he wins the Breeders' Cup Sprint, he's your defending champion. They ship him to Saudi. He wins the Riyadh Dirt Sprint for a stupid amount of money, like a $2 million race. And then they ran him in the Golden Shaheem, and he had a really bad day. He just fired a clunker. Dan Blacker gives him the entire summer off, brings him back at Santa Anita in a tough spot, and he ran like he needed a race. And I think you're getting him now second off the long layoff, which Blacker is phenomenal with a big positive ROI. And I think you see a return to the old Straight No Chaser in this spot. I don't think that Santa Anita Sprint was a terrible race. It's slower than his best, but came back as a 117 time for him when he's a horse that runs 125 on his best day. That's not a terrible race. And I think he just probably needed one. And so you're going to get him back here. He's been training forwardly for this. And I think he's a really interesting player here who I think you get a little bit, I don't know if you call it dirtied up form, if you just call it a little bit of, there's some question marks in there. But if you get around 8-1, I think that's a gift.
So unfortunately, Caleb, I do like Banishing. I have him as a beat in this spot. But I don't know. I kind of would. I actually, where I would have liked him is I would have liked to see him in the Dirt Mile. I think, I think the Dirt Mile.
That's a good fit for him.
I think the Dirt Mile would be because you look at. I mean, the Charlestown Classic is like a 7-turn race or something like that.
But this is a considerably softer race than the Dirt Mile.
This is and so maybe he saw that the Dirt Mile was going to come up real sharp, but I think that honestly I think you and I were talking. I was like, I would have loved to see Banishing run in the Met Mile. I thought in the Met Mile he would have been dangerous. But I do think this is a little sharp for him, which is the only reason why I have him as a B and not an A. Honestly, the horse the 15-1 horse that I like that I don't think either of you guys talked about is the 11 Mulligan, who I thought was in here with a shot. And of course, this is the first time, right? This is the horse 15-1 in Maury Line, and I looked overseas. He's half that. So I think we're probably going to get a little bit less on this, and really he's the opposite. I think he's a horse that they've run at 7 a lot. That I don't think he wants any part of 7. I mean, you look at his races, you kind of cross the line through some of his 7 races, and you look at some of the 6 furlong races, and especially this year, I mean, that Vanderbilt was really, really good. I mean, he beat Nakatomi, who's a really nice horse, and lost to Bookham Dano, who would be probably would be your favorite in this race.
5 in
Would
this
be a
field.
big favorite.
Yeah. So, I think, then they go to the 4 they go 7 furlongs. I kind of cross the line through that race because I do think he's probably better going 6 or 6.5. So, so I like Mulligan in here, coming back here. Actually, I mean, I think your morning line favorite, Betternato, I thought looked good, but now, I'm kind of curious what your guys' thought is on this because, right, this is a horse that ran really well last year in the BC Sprint at a huge price, right? Ran second to Straight No Chaser and there, beat Mulligan. Then got put up for almost a year, right? Yeah. I mean, basically 300 plus days. Comes back and just absolutely, I mean, just burned the absolute crap out of that Churchill Downs track, going 6 furlongs, 131 time form figure. I mean, that's insanity. I mean, I know we don't always talk about this B word. I mean, like after that long layoff, coming back and firing that race, I mean, you think we got a candidate for a bounce here? I mean,
I do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That last race took him out of commission for a year.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And now he's going to run back on, 6 weeks rest. I don't like it. He was 30-1 last year in the Breeders' Cup. I mean, he was not expected to be this good. Absolutely, I think a terrible favorite in this race.
Yeah, agreed.
The only other horse that you guys hadn't talked about yet, and this is probably feeding right into Steven's hands because he wants a number at the end of the day. The number 7, Imagination. I do think that he's kind of just another one of these horses that, like, they just keep on changing the distance that this horse is running.
They have no clue what to do with him.
Yeah. Finally came back, and I think he beat some really nice horses in that Santa Anita Sprint Challenge, right? He beat Dr. Vakeman. He beat Straight No Chaser. Granted, Straight No Chaser coming off of a long layoff in that race. And he actually ran a 120 raw figure in that race on time form. They put it down to a 116. So, I mean, he does have the ability to run in the mid 120s. The question is that going to be fast enough to win in here? I don't know, but I thought at 6-1 he was at least kind of interesting in this spot as kind of a maybe. I mean, he's only 4, so you think that he could still take a step forward off of some of those races, but Caleb,
I think he's very appropriately named, because that's what requires to come up with a world where he wins this race. I don't think he has a chance in this race.
Okay.
In the past 8 runnings, no horse has exited a career top and then won this race. That was a career best for him, and it still really isn't good enough to win. So for me, not for me.
There's a price where it's interesting. It is not 6-1. It's more like 20.
There's 2 prices that are massive prices in here that I like much more than him.
Yep.
The number 4, Patriot Spirit, who on time form is a little slow, on Thorograph is very much in the conversation. Off of his last 2 wins at 7 furlongs. Remains to be seen if he'll be as effective at 6 as he was campaigned mostly as a miler or further. But it is one that I do have some interest in. And also the horse right to his inside, Lovesick Blues, who makes absolutely no sense running the race that he ran in the Bing Crosby. A wickedly fast Thorograph number, a good Brisnet buyer figure. Time form was a little harsher on that fig. But at this track, at this trip, came through with a massive top and then goes back to turf and ran the races that we've seen him run on turf most of his career. Doesn't seem like he bounced off that. It's just he's not as good on turf as dirt, perhaps. I mean, 6 for 18 on dirt, 3 for 23 on turf.
He's a horse that you just look at, you're like, if they've really been campaigning this horse wrong his entire career.
And then you think, okay, we figured it out. The Big Crosby, we figured it out.
Look at this, we figured it out.
And then they run him back in the turf.
Like, what are you doing?
I don't know that he can win this race. I don't know if that Bing Crosby is as good as it looks on figures, but you're going to get double digits on this horse. It'll be on my tickets.
Anything else on this race, Mark?
No, I'm good.
All right.
So none of us are on Copion.
No, I did see David Barista say 15-1 on Nakatomi, so he's back on Nakatomi.
No. No. If imagination isn't fast enough, Nakatomi's definitely not fast enough.
I did see Russ mention the 13 Madhouse shipped from 2 shit tracks, so there's your winner.
Horse does like to win. Yeah, and I think Copion does make some sense. Obviously, you talked about Copion. I don't necessarily love the rail trip, and I just I don't even know how to describe it, but it's just one of those horses that feels a little bit dressed up on figs. Just
dude,
I think she's better at 7 than 6 by a considerable margin.
What race is at 7?
I know. I
just do not understand it.
It makes no sense.
That's the only reason I like Tamara in that race is because it makes no sense. He doesn't run Copion there.
Oh God, that's just wild, man. All right, Distaff. Obviously, I think with the retirement of Torpedo Anna, although I mean it's not the same. Torpedo Anna was not the same horse at the end of this year as she was last year. So
a hell of a career. I mean,
she's
But with her
First
not being
Hall of Famer, she's the real deal.
Her not in here, I think it made this race a little bit more interesting. Your 9-5 favorite is the 8 Seismic Beauty in this spot. Another Baffert JJ horse here, a horse that has really at the end of the summer, it just seemed to get better and better and better. And now, coming here off of a 3-month layoff, but off of a very, very nice figure, 129 time form in that last effort. And then obviously, I think a horse that has done it on both surfaces has been really, really impressive in the 1 Nitrogen in here at 4-1. And then I think kind of outside of that, you kind of get to pick your price on most of the other horses in here. So, Mark, I'll let you go first. Where did you kind of land here?
No, I think this is on this card, on the Saturday card for me. This is the hardest race. And it's the hardest race. It's not like I fell in love with a bunch of prices or I was against short price or anything. I just think that there's like 8 horses in this race that can legitimately win it. Obviously, you have Nitrogen, who's been just a cool horse. She can run on any surface. She's been very, very, very impressive. I bet against her last time out and was right with Jin, but I got very, very, very lucky in that. That was a show I know we the two of us streamed solo because this one was a little busy. But no, yeah. So no, I don't have anything against Nitrogen. I don't know if I should start with the horses I like the most. Yeah, let's start there. I think my top choice in this race is going to go between 2 horses, and they're both going to be kind of mid prices. The first one, let's start with Clicquot, who has won 4 in a row. She's a horse that seems to have just kind of be putting the pieces together really, really quickly, kind of stepping forward every race. Obviously she didn't win her maiden, but has won everything since. And I thought her Cotillion was a real nice race. I was high on dry powder that day, and I was wrong, and Clicquot got me. So, she can get this trip. I don't think that's a problem, and I think she's a horse that kind of keeps stepping forward. So I think she's an interesting sort of player in this spot. Another horse that I'm really interested in is the 2-horse Sarawak Rim, the Argentinian import. Arguably she's been campaigned, her 1 loss was probably a little bit further than she wants to go. But if you watch the last race, I don't know how to properly say that name. I will diverge to Josh there. The Credores Stakes. That was a pretty impressive, performance. She set just off the pace, made a really pretty decisive move, and she only wins by a length, but it was pretty obvious that she was going to win. We've seen a lot of these, I shouldn't say a lot of these, but we saw in the Dirt Mile last year an Argentinian shipper come in. I think the horse did have a prep or 2 and win that race. So
big blue prize vibes here, right?
Yeah, some sort of blue prize vibes, those sort of things. A horse that likes to win, a horse that seems to be trending in the right way. A little bit of you know, a little bit of an X factor, a little bit of an outsider in this race, but I think is you know, a pretty interesting player in here. And then you know, I already mentioned Jinjin. You know, I don't think that last race from Jinjin was a fluke. This is another horse that seems to be really putting the pieces together. Sort of back half of this season, she took a huge step forward to that Keeneland race. Maybe she's a bounce candidate off that. I don't know. But, you know, I really like the switch to Luis Saez. I think his riding style really fits her well. And she took a big step forward last out, beating, you know, the likes of Nitrogen and Scylla, which is what everybody thought was the deep end of this division until that race. So, you know, I think there's a lot of those types of horses that are at sort of mid prices that I'm really interested in. I think if I play this race, it's a race I want to have a lot of coverage in because I think there's a lot of price potential, and this is a race that historically has had a lot of price potential. You see a lot of you know, horses really blow up the board here.
Mark mentioned Argentinian shippers, and all I could think about. Remember a couple of Breeders' Cups ago, there was either Argentinian or Chilean horse that was shipping in for that dirt marathon race that they were doing.
Yeah.
And the fucking corpse of Rocketry came to, like, after like he had not won in like 2 years, came and won that. And like I always thought I was home free at like 25 to 1. And out of nowhere comes Rocketry. My goodness. Oh, that kills me. I got 3 horses in this race. Mark, you already mentioned one of them in the 7, Jinjin. I like Jinjin in this spot. Right. I like the fact that Jinjin has beaten a couple horses in this race. Obviously, dirt speed is always good at Del Mar. And it's you know, it'll be interesting to see what happens between the 7 and the 8, Seismic Beauty, who I'm also going to be using. Because Seismic Beauty hasn't really had much I don't think she's really had much pace pressure or in the last couple of races. So I'm curious to see like what happens, you know, if Jinjin kind of goes full send. Like, is Seismic Beauty going to be okay letting her pass? Are they going to duel? I'm not really sure. I like both of them in this spot. You know, I'm taking both of, I think
Jinjin sort of drawn inside. So you kind of wonder, is she going to, and I guess I didn't say this when I was talking, I should have. You know, I think Seismic Beauty is a horse that arguably desperately needs the lead. And does Jinjin really muck up her race? Because she's just not going to give it to her. So,
it could be. And I'm curious kind of what happens between those two. I have both those horses. And the other horse I'm going to use is going to be just a cool horse. And that's the 12, Darth Vader. In that personal ensign, I thought she was going to get past. I thought she was going to go, and Torpedo Anna, you know, was able to hold her off in that spot. But, you know, ran a really nice race in the Ogden Phipps over at Saratoga in that that was Belmont weekend, I believe. And, you know, won that race by just as many as she wanted. Now, granted, it wasn't a slop, right? So is this a horse that you know, needs the slop? I don't think so. I think this is a horse that has run well on fast tracks. But you know, the 5-year-old's actually kind of improved this year. It's kind of taken some step forward. So the 122 that she ran last time, maybe a little bit slow for what can win this race. But I thought she was at least in here with a little bit of shot, especially if we do get some kind of nuclear pace. But 7, 8, and 12 are all I'm going to use in this race. Caleb, I'll let you go. Where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, I guess I took maybe the opposite side of the coin here. I thought this race was pretty cut and dry. I can probably get out of this race just using Nitrogen and Seismic Beauty. I probably prefer Nitrogen. I think 4 to 1 is a good price there. She couldn't get by Jinjin last out. You know, maybe that's a little alarming. But Jinjin did sort of have a pretty clear-cut lead, considering Torpedo Anna just didn't fire that day. Yeah. Nitrogen was, you know, all out and just missed by against an older horse who had a little bit too much in the tank. I don't love the draw for Nitrogen here on the rail. That's kind of one of my bigger concerns with her, especially as a turf horse who was primarily, you know, campaigned as a turf horse and then put on the dirt, you know, where she had caught 2 short fields and kind of got her ideal trip. I'm not sure she gets that trip here today against a much bigger field. Might have to take some dirt for the first time. So I'm a little worried about that. Seismic Beauty probably is a need to lead type, as Mark mentioned earlier, but she's been a different animal since they put her around 2 turns. Her last 3 races are extremely impressive. She kind of dusted Copion, dusted Splendora, 2 horses who are, you know, well thought of on this stream. I think I probably get out of this race with those two. I do like Scylla a little bit. I know Mike, friend of the stream, Mike.
PDT, I know. I already saw
Who will be
he's in
appearing
chat.
here in like 15 or 20
Oh, look at
seconds.
this. He says single Scylla. He's still in chat here.
Insane.
Not a single. Not even
He's
an
saying
A.
single. That's it. Caleb, you're on board with Mike.
But this was a horse who was campaigned as a 2-turn horse early in her career until they just couldn't quite get the wins they were looking for. Tried to cut her back, and she had some small level of success. But if you look at the pedigree and you look at just the way she runs, I do think she's better at 2 turns. Ran basically the same race as Nitrogen did, given where they were throughout that race. And you're going to get 4 times the price here. Not exactly a win machine, but, is a very classy mare. And I don't know that I love her on top, but I do think she's a very good kind of trifecta key in here, similar to as Mike pointed out a couple days ago. So credit to Mike there. I like Scylla in that angle. I'll probably have Sarawak Rim on a ticket somewhere based off the kind of unknown. But besides that, I think I'm kind of okay with some of the long shots just beating me in this race if it happens that way.
I did see David Barista. He loves the 13 Regaled. He says Whit Beckman will also be on my tickets as a bomb.
Horse ran a massive race last out at Delaware, but I do kind of think that was largely aided by the off track.
She's never missed the exact and 3 off track starts. She's got 2 wins in a second. I agree with that fig, but boy, she feels like an off track specialist, which is not going to happen in Southern California tomorrow.
Oh, could you imagine if it rained?
Could you imagine?
Oh, dude, that would be.
Get the Tommies out.
Oh boy! Oh boy!
Mark would be. Mark. That's why Mark wants. He's waiting for that Belmont. Breeders' Cup.
Make it rain.
He really is.
All right.
Watch the world burn.
Race 8, the BC Turf, Single Rebels Romance. Next.
Oof.
Love it.
Really, Mark's saying oof. I mean, I don't know how you bet against Rebels Romance in the spot.
Where's the toss?
I mean, I know Mini Hawk is coming in here and is being is looming large in the spot. Obviously, very, very highly rated horse from overseas. And I mean, it is going to be a worthy favorite in this race, right? But, ran second at last time in the ARC and is coming here. And I mean, we saw Enable do it, right, when she won the ARC and came over here and won the turf. But I mean, it's a tough ship and a short ship for a horse like that. And Rebels Romance has done something that I don't think he's done previous years, where he came a race early.
Yeah.
They sent him over here a race early.
Usually it preps in Germany.
Yeah.
And that race was great. I think it was like a 1:30 time for him. I mean, came back really, really well. He just looks as good as he's looked. And he's won here at Del Mar. And I think that Aiden's kind of just like, hey, like he wants to get another 3-time winner.
Aiden?
Or he wants to get a 3-time winner. Sorry, not Aiden. Chucky Apples. Sorry. I was looking at the wrong PPs. Chucky Apples wants to get that 3-time winner. I mean, this is just such a cool. We're not going to see a horse like this anymore.
No, we're not.
This is a horse that's won. I believe we were talking about this on Drinking Champagne. I think he's won group races or graded races in like 6 different countries.
He has 20 wins
and 29 starts.
Almost $15 million banked.
I mean, this is just such a cool horse. I have this horse as a single. I literally am not using any other horse. This is a single for me.
So Josh looking the chalky during stream.
He's not a chalky. He's a second choice.
Probably won't be the chalky.
He's a second choice.
He's probably gonna be second choice. Yeah.
Caleb, where did you land?
God, I hate to take this position. I agree with you, Josh. I like Rebels Romance a lot in this race, and I've bet against him most of my life. And Steven just starts laughing from the next room. But he just is built for American racing. A high cruising speed, forward positioning, gets this distance, loves a firm turf course. Clearly, we saw this last year at Del Mar. He's built for this. No knocks on anything Josh said. That being said, I'm a little interested in the horse right to his outside, Goliath, who, if he runs back to some of his best races we saw last year, he's a big player in here. He hasn't been quite as good this year, despite winning the Group 1 at Germany last out and having a couple wins this year. He hasn't been quite as fast, but he's a horse at 8-1 that I definitely want to use. He is, not the most consistent runner, kind of like an anti-Rebels Romance of sorts, but he's a horse that I definitely want to have in here. And then I guess the last one would just be the favorite Mini Hawk. I don't love Mini Hawk in here. I kind of think that, oftentimes, me and Mark talked about this last night. You see 3-year-old fillies win the ARC at a reasonably high clip. They get a pretty significant weight break, about 5 kilograms, which is 11-ish pounds, going 1.5 miles over what's typically a pretty boggy turf course makes a difference. So I think the fact she was runner up while also being well clear of the third place horse in the ARC is impressive. I'm not sure that's going to translate as much to American racing over a fast turf course. I'm just not convinced. I think she's very nice, a great filly. They've already kind of talked about potential brood merit prospects. This will be her last race in all likelihood. I heard they were going to send her to Wooten Bassett prior to his passing, looking like Justify maybe is next up in line. But I don't know that I love her in this spot. If she's 8-5, I feel like that means I have to leave her out. Is Mike here?
Yeah, Mike's here. Yeah. Yeah, that might have been him. So obviously we have people arriving. I think when you talk about this race, to Caleb's point, we've both been trying to beat Rebels Romance for a long period of time, and Caleb's giving up. And I feel like because Caleb's giving up, I just have to keep on trying. Like, now is the time. I think when you look at this race, there are this race is always a great race. And I think, obviously Rebels Romance is 13 of 18 going this trip, 21 of 30 lifetime, has a win across this. It would be so cool to have a 3-time winner of this race. All of the things you want to see with Rebels Romance. But with that all being said, I don't have a good reason where I can say I'm trying to beat him beyond the fact that I think he's just run into I think the quality of the field here is better than he's historically faced in this race. And I also think he's a 7-year-old. The wheels have to come off at some point. And you want to kind of be there, as Caleb likes to say, you want to be there for the wedding, not the funeral. So I want to be the one that's trying to beat a Rebels Romance. And, Caleb has mentioned a couple that I think are interesting. I do tend to agree with the line on Mini Hawk. Christian Simulon is on record as saying he thinks this is his most likely winner on, of the 2 days. Pretty cool. But if you're, a time form person, she absolutely, her figures, leapt up that last race. She took a major step forward. She's an extremely, extremely talented filly. But I don't necessarily know if American racing really suits her. And so I kind of wanted to go look some other places for some other interesting horses. And I think in this race, you have this thing of, you have the kind of Rebels Romances it was a 7-year-old who's been around, who's been campaigned. I want that kind of fresher Euro face in this race. And so where I ended up landing is on the 3-horse Amalok. This is a horse that is 5 of 6 lifetime. The only loss is in that last race in the Irish St. Ledger, arguably probably going a little bit too far. So he's getting a cut back to probably the trip he wants. If you're a time form person, he has taken a step forward every single race of his career. And his time form figs fit really nice with those of the races of somebody like a Rebels Romance or somebody like a Mini Hawk. He's not that much slower. And I think I've done a lot of replay work for the Breeders' Cup. And I think if you watch his replays, he is so damn game in the lane. He is a horse that just, when he going gets good late, he is just super game. So I'm very, very interested in somebody like an Amalok. Mini Hawk, again, can win, but I think that's the kind of horse that I'll let beat me at a really short price. And the other horse that Caleb is going to give me crap for, because he's apparently jumped over hurdles, and that means once you've done that, apparently you lose all ability to win anything ever again, and that's the 14-horse Ethical Diamond. He's a horse that they clearly didn't quite know what to do with. They know he's a stayer. They know he's a horse that can go a long distance, and so they ran him over a couple of jumps races where he did okay. But then they decided, hey, let's spin him back and let's try to run him in some of these 1.5-mile races. And his last 2 races were really, really, really good. His Duke Eggenberg was a very, very nice race. And that, and also that handicap right after that, both really good efforts. I don't know if it just took him a while to kind of figure it out. He was a horse that was always clearly talented, but really seems to have put the pieces together the last 2. You're going to get 30-1 on a horse that I don't really think is a ton slower than some of the other major players in here. So I think he's another horse that, again, I won't have a ton of money going through him, but he's a horse that I do want to have a little bit of coverage to. In what I think, if you can get by, I think there are some chinks in the armor of some of the short prices. If you can get through those chinks in those armor, you're going to get really, really paid in a race like this.
I do like Amalok a bit. I think that's a good call.
I think Amalok's interesting. Probably ends up being, I'm sort of in this, and you had mentioned Goliath. I'm sort of between Goliath, Amalok, and probably between Goliath and Amalok is those 2 horses that I think are that right value for upside in this race.
Dude, I was just like, this is Willie Mullins' first runner in the Breeders' Cup.
He's not known for running horses at races that run in the Breeders' Cup. He's known as a jumps trainer. Yeah. He's also known as a guy who's got horses that run 3 miles.
I bet him all the time at Cheltenham. So
there's a galaxy between a Class 2 handicap and the Breeders' Cup turf.
Yeah, the race.
But he drew out. He has to jump over the rail to get into the race. So it's a good thing he's a jumps horse. But yeah.
But also with his run style, I'm not as concerned about that because he can sit way back. He's not a horse that needs to lead. He doesn't need to be involved.
He can make his run.
He can make his run. And there's not a ton of pace in this race, but there's enough pace.
I did see a compliment from Mark in chat. Mark is much better than he was 5 years ago.
How do I give that a heart?
He would have defensive beat Mini 5 years ago. So, and David Bristol loves the 30-1. So, anything else in this race?
Yeah, I think if you can get, I think we made, Caleb and I both throw out, and I think you did as well, some chinks in the armor of the short priced horses. If you can get around those horses, this is a really interesting race. I think for most people who don't have a big bankroll, you just probably use the Rebels Romich and use Mini Hawk, and they're going to probably win this race between the 2 of them 75% of the time, 75% of the time.
So fun question: does an American finish in the Superfecta in this race?
No.
Josh. They might not hit the quintuple.
Does Goliath count as an American since Resolute Racing owns him? No.
Neither does Wimbledon Hawkeye. So no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not.
Maybe Gold Phoenix gets 4th.
I mean, I don't know.
Gold Phoenix. I can't win.
Is Gold like who are we have? Gold Phoenix, Tawny Port, Hill Road. Is that it? I mean, we don't have a legit.
We're outnumbered.
Where's Chad Brown at?
We got
I need Chad Brown to save us.
He's got one redistricting in Rebel Red. Yeah.
I will throw it out there. Okay. There are horses in this race. Like Gold Phoenix is a really cool horse, but there's a certain time where a really cool horse just gets so outclassed, and he's a great, really
grade 2 Del Mar horse.
Yeah, but yeah.
David Pierce saying that he wanted to run in the Melbourne Cup, but vets won't pass him because he had a fracture in the past.
Who is that in reference to?
I don't know. I wonder if he's talking about the Mullins horse.
Sorry, David. We're all over the place here.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're a hot mess. Oh, is he talking about Gold Phoenix?
I doubt it.
I don't think so.
I assume it's the jumps horse.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll see.
It could be.
I'm sure David will chime back in. The classic,
the 14. Ethical Diamond, yeah. So apparently Ethical Diamond had a fracture. I wasn't aware of that. So,
and we'll see some Melbourne.
That's cool. They want to ship
them. Yeah. They wanted to send them.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, race 9, BC Classic here. We'll be going 1.25 miles here on the main track, and your morning line favorite was Sovereignty, scratched due to a fever. It's a shame. I was probably going to be against Sovereignty in here just because I was trying to be contrarian. And now I kind of feel I don't know. I feel like I'm landing on chalk in this race now. So I don't know. I'm really curious how you guys are seeing this race. Like, honestly, if Fierceness wasn't on the rail, I would be all over him.
Same.
However,
That rail is huge for him.
he
That's the only thing that matters.
I mean, he is just a completely different horse on the rail. And I mean, you know, maybe this is the one, right? This is we're going back to the Travers where he's gonna make us all look dumb because he's gonna finally figure out somehow they're gonna work a trip out from there. But I just can't take him at I believe he's like 5-2 on the morning line now with David's new line. So, you know, I'm against Fierceness in this spot, and you know, it's just like every time I finally come around on Fierceness, I got to get off, and you know, I don't know. So I'm not a fan of Fierceness in this spot. Mark's probably gonna end up on a horse like Baeza because I mean that's just Mark. And
Josh is throwing shade.
I feel like I'm gonna buy as a stand, but that's fine.
I mean, I kind of landed on Forever Young in this spot. I think that if there's going to be a time that Forever Young's going to win a grade 1 here,
It's going to be in GST plus 12.
I think that there's no excuse at this point, right? I think this is the time that he's going to be able to do it with no sovereignty in here. I think you know, he's actually kind of lucky. You know, not that he's a deep closer, but I think with the rabbit and contrary thinking showing up in here, I think he's going to get some pace. He's going to be able to have something to track off of, and I think that's actually going to help him a little bit here. I know it's supposed to set up for Sierra Leone, right? That's what, and Sierra Leone I think went from 8-1 to like 9-2, I think, on the morning line now. And David actually, you know, he brought up a point that like sovereignty. The reason why Sierra Leone was 8-1 is because he felt like, all right, there's a rabbit. You know, he thinks the closer is going to win. Well, sovereignty is going to outkick Sierra Leone, so that's why he made Sierra Leone longer. Because people were like, "Oh, this is a miss, right? He's trying to fix his line." And it's like, no, the race changed.
The race changed, which is
the
what you're
best closer.
supposed to do as a lines maker. That's why Aragon is the best.
Yeah.
Like
so I thought Sierra Leone here is, but I know there are people, and I think they might be in the room with us, who are on mind frame in this spot.
Those people?
Huh?
In our room?
Yeah, I think there's at least one person in this room that's on mind frame.
Wow.
Wow. And I'm not one of them. But I have Forever Young as my lone A, and I just want to know if I'm going to get booed out of the room if I decide that.
Pop the door. Mike's right there.
If I decide that I might be going back. I might be going back to the journalism wall in this spot, guys.
Journalism?
I might go to the journalism wall.
Whoa! You're gonna give me shit about Baeza, and then you're gonna go pick journalism?
That's the worst pick of the day.
No, that is the worst pick of the day.
I mean, I think I'm gonna have him on a couple of tickets in the spot. You know, maybe the job change is gonna be enough, right? Rifoli's no longer aboard. We get Jose Ortiz aboard, and I mean, kind of his biggest boogeyman in sovereignty is no longer in this race. So
Rispoli's in the race though.
Yeah, but he's not riding journalism anymore. So I don't know. I thought journalism was going to be at least a little bit interesting in here, but I'm mostly going to be behind Forever Young. That's my top pick in this race. I'm going to have a little bit of journalism, and that's all I'm going to use because, I'm going to try and get through this race kind of skinny here. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Caleb, what did you think here?
Yeah, I was going to be fairly heavy towards sovereignty coming into this race. I thought he was going to be a pretty easy single A for me. After him, and we talked about this, I was like, hey, if he scratches, this race gets really hard for me.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And I will almost buy this race. I think that probably my top two selections would genuinely be Mike's looking.
You want tequila? We did buy tequila.
Help yourself. We got bourbon, scotch, tequila.
We got a Shiloh.
Glasses are right there in the top. So I don't know if he's my top pick, but I'm high on Nevada Beach, the Bob Baffert horse. I'm telling you.
So you've become the Baffert sim. Josh has become the chalk eater.
This horse is just right for a career top. I mean, he has moved forward in every start.
Yes.
He just buried Full Serrano last out, who was last year's BC Dirt Mile winner. And he's just getting better and better. He looks like a horse that just wants every inch of ground he can get. And I don't know how I separate a horses like Fierceness in Sierra Leone and Forever Young. Yeah, they just kind of take turns beating each other. I think especially with the likes of, Fierceness drawing the rail, that makes me a lot less interested in him. I'm a little bothered by the fact that Sierra Leone could not beat Antiquarian despite having his rabbit in the race, and he still couldn't get the job done.
I mean, there are some extenuating circumstances in that race.
There were some trips in that race. But
there's also somebody getting launched at the starting gate. And
that's what I mean. Mindframe got dumped dry rad, and Wedabario took the worst of it. But but Sierra Leone we've seen this from him before. Just getting in his own way, costing himself races. And then Forever Young, I mean, we have one recent prep race to go off of that was a race literally designed just to get him a prep race. Yeah. So I don't know that I love any of them. I mean, they're all usable, but I don't love any of them. I mean, I would probably lean towards Nevada Beach and Josh's meme horse, Baeza, who I thought finally took that step forward at Parks with a sketchy speed figure. But yeah, for me, like I said, I'll probably buy the race because I do think it's pretty flat. The only horse I don't think probably can't win is Contrary Thinking. Nothing crazy there. I'm not super high on Fierceness from the rail. And if he is the favorite, he might not make any of my tickets. And I also don't love Journalism, who I just don't think has really taken a step forward in a couple of starts. But, beyond those two, I mean, even including those two, I think this is a wide open race that I want to have a lot of coverage to.
Yeah, I was really frustrated with the scratch. I thought this was a race that I wanted to try to beat Sovereignty in. And that was my mindset going in. How do I beat the most likely winner, but the very short priced horse? And then he scratches out, and suddenly the race complexion completely changes. And the prices I'm going to get on horses I like are very different. I know Dave Barista was sort of asking my take on Fierceness. I think Fierceness is in every other. He's had a very hard time putting two winning races together in his career. I'd love to know what his Sheets Figs was in the Pacific Classic, because if you try to jump the rail about 20 foot out of the gate, and then you do a little S turn in there, I mean, it's got to be a ground loss thing.
So he saved -3 paths. By jumping into the gap
into the gap. And,
so
wait, does that hurt him?
He actually ran almost a career top out of that.
Oh my god!
Which means
the sheets.
He's never probably not going to fire.
My thing is he's never one time. He's got a 13 race career and he's only won back-to-back races at one occasion. And that was off the layoff. He's a horse that just is. He's a head case. He's still a head case. I think he's getting one of the best jocks for dealing with head cases in the world, and he's still a head case with him up. So I can't go to Fierceness. And so that put me on two horses that I don't think. So first off, Michael Pohl has said all summer at Saratoga that the best horse Mike owns in training is Mindframe. And I was hoping we were going to see him in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. I thought we were going to see the real Mindframe. I was hoping to see what he really was. And we didn't get to see that due to a couple of other reasons. Josh has just left.
Josh has left.
Josh is just gone. Josh has just completely left. So so I thought Mindframe was a really, really interesting, interesting player in here. Is a horse that likes to win when the jockey stays aboard and shenanigans don't take place. But the other horse that I think probably ends up being my top choice in here is the 10-horse Antiquarian. And I remember before the last race,
leave again.
Wow, really? Josh is going to take a loop again. Is the 10-horse Antiquarian. And I remember prior to the last race, I think Caleb called me out on, hey, Mark, isn't this your type of horse? A horse that just keeps getting better every single race really slowly. And that's what sort of happened with Antiquarian. He's taken little small steps forward every single race. I thought his Jockey Club was a very, very nice race. I think you make this case if you like Sierra Leone in this race at, I don't know, what I think he has down to 4-1 now or something. 7-2, 4-1. Antiquarian beat him in his own game last out. Don't you have to like an Antiquarian over a Sierra Leone?
I agree with you.
Right?
Or you don't like either.
Or you don't like either. If you don't like either, I respect that. But we're making a case.
I like that better.
We're making this case that this is a wide open race. Don't you go for some of those pricier horses that are more interesting? You know, can somebody like a Forever Young or Sierra Leone win? Sure. But give me somebody that I still think has more upside, no matter how much it frazzles Josh.
David Barista says the 2 fastest horses love burning money.
Presumably fierceness and
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone. That's very true.
He is spot on.
Although he does say he could see Nevada Beach boom the exactor try, so he's on you with Nevada Beach.
Dude, I hate Nevada Beach for so many reasons, but Caleb is spot on, right? This is the type of horse that in a race that has some suspect form and a horse taking a step forward booms everybody, and we go, oh, we should have known.
Well, I just want the people to know that you were not the person who I thought was going to be on Not Mind Frame. I thought it was that gentleman that's sitting back there.
I thought Steve isn't burned by Mind Frame.
I thought it was him. So the other day, and I think I might have already told the story, but we were watching the draw and we were in group chat, and I don't remember if it was Caleb or Mark. You're like, "Are you trolling?" Like from the stuff I was saying, and luckily Steven backed me up. He's like, "Josh is not trolling whatsoever." And then I think Mark is trolling me right now live on stream, taking Antiquarian and Mind Frame. What the hell is going on?
I'd love to see it.
Fortnite
Josh is tilted, and we haven't even gotten to
Fortnite is fun is here. He's saying, "You mean that was your Mind Frame going?" I don't know. Maybe that means Fortnite is fun's on Mind Frame, and you know what? He's the smartest out of all of us.
He is the best
Fortnite
one of
is
all
the
of
best
us.
one of all of us. Fortnite, who you on here? It'll take him a second to get back, but he'll spit the word.
Russ thinks that the head caseness comes from the owner, so he thinks that's why fierceness is a head case there. But anything else in this race you guys want to talk about?
No.
Race 10, the BC Mile. I thought this was an interesting race. I thought there was a lot of ways you could go. I have 4 horses written down, and your more than my favorite is the number 2 Notable Speech at 5-2. I have concerns about Notable Speech. Came here to Del Mar last year and got beat by 2 American horses, which is just never good. If you're that's not a good look. And comes back, has a prep in the Woodbine Mile, and he wins. Right, he wins, but that wasn't a great rendition of the Woodbine Mile. And Woodbine Mile is
very soft.
Woodbine Mile is normally a very, very good race.
It does tend to be.
And he actually regressed on time form speed figures from what he was running overseas. So I have no idea what to think of Notable Speech. For that reason, what I see on time form figs, I'm kind of against Notable Speech in this spot. And I'm on a bunch of other horses. I think of the American horse, I think the 11 Rhetorical is the horse that makes the most sense. All right, it's the horse that is got a bunch of wins. Mark is over here. Give me. Oh no. Caleb does not like Rhetorical. Rhetorical is my top pick in this race. I'm gonna have him on all my tickets, but I have a couple other horses I like in this spot. And Mark, I know Mark really likes Rhetorical, so I'm sure he'll have much better things to say. I think the 5 Program Trading is another interesting horse in here. Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt. It's got 2, obviously finished second at Rhetorical last time out, finished second at Donegal Momentum 2 back. But I mean, this is a race that at least Chad Brown has won in the past, right? I think his most recent was it Uni?
The mile?
Yeah.
I think it was Uni.
So, I do think that
2019 or something.
Yeah.
18.
So, he's coming in here. He gets Flavian Pratt. This is a horse that looks like he's kind of trending in the right direction. 3rd up, which is usually when you're going to see kind of the best race fired. And if he improves a little bit on that 127, I think it's going to be kind of tough in this spot. So I do like the 5 Program Trading in here. I also like the 10 Jonquil. And this is a horse shipping in from shipping in from Keeneland, but I'm kind of crossing a line through that last race in the Turf Mile. I'm going to say, hey, that maybe that was kind of a prep, but you did see that jump up, right? You saw that 113 turn to a 126 when this horse came to the U.S. You saw that improvement, but most importantly, this is a 3-year-old. Right. Mm-hmm. So we still have that room to grow. So I think if this horse takes another step forward here and got granted, right, he did that with Dylan Davis aboard. Dylan Davis, great rider, right? But I love to see the fact that that the jockey who rode him in Goodwood to that win is now shipping in for this race. So I like seeing that. So I like Jonquil here at a bit of a price. And then the only other horse I have written down is the 9 Argine here. Horse shipping in from Japan. And, maybe this is just a little bit of recency bias, but Japan's had a couple of nice turf horses that have been able to ship in here. Love's Only You came here a couple of years ago, and then Space Blues, which I know is a horse that, Mark, you were really over. Bred in Japan, though, wasn't it? Are you sure?
He was born in the UK.
Okay, sorry.
One of the.
All right. Well,
he spent most of his career in Dubai, though.
Okay, Dubai. Maybe that. Oh, that's what it was. It was a Dubai horse.
Dubai and Japan are not even close.
Sorry, it was a horse that you liked. I assume is a Japanese horse, but anyways. Argine's coming in here, and once again, we've talked about, like I said, the difference in the time form phase. This is the horse that is coming in off a win. It's got that 3-month layoff coming in here, and I like that Frankie Dettori's taking this mount, so I thought that was pretty interesting in this spot. Frankie does know how to win these big races, and you're getting 20-1 here on Argine. So I just got those 4 horses. I got the 11, the 5, the 9, and the 10. Mark, I'll let you go. Where did you land here?
Yeah, I mean, Josh mentioned Rhetorical, and I think when you look at the Breeders' Cup Mile, historically, this has been a race where there's a couple of European monsters that ship over here, and they are very well met. I know Josh mentioned Space Blues, who was a horse that won this race a few years back. There's been a few others who were, very well meant, very well thought of, very well regarded. It isn't as much of the case this year. I think this is a bit of the Euro contingent is not as strong as we've historically seen it. I think if you're going to see a year where an American wins the mile, this is probably the year. I think Rhetorical
last year,
or like last year, yeah, that year too. And I think Rhetorical is a really interesting player in here. This is a horse that I'm sure Caleb is going to make some comments about. Where does this form come from? He got really good out of nowhere. He's beating nobody. Program trading, we beat Last Out's a fraud. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can kind of beat him up for, but he is a horse that has kind of really seemed to have figured it out. It seems to be a very lightly raced horse. We don't really know what the ceiling is on this one, and I think he has every right to take a step forward. And I think if he even just runs his A game of what he's run, he ran a 129 time form last out. If you believe that figure, he is an absolutely massive player in this race. Now, maybe that figure's a little dressed up. Maybe it's a little sus. But I think he's an interesting horse here. And I think there's going to be a lot of people like these two who are going to see, it's an American running in and blah, 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 blah. And therefore, you're going to get a fair price. And I think you're going to get that sort of 5-1. I think that's a very, very fair price on him. Now, he's not my top choice in here. And my top choice is a horse that nobody's mentioned, and I would imagine is a Caleb horse. And that's the 3-horse Salon, who's a horse that comes out of the Prix de Moulin. And that race has been historically an extremely good prep for the Breeders' Cup Mile. And he's won, he won 2 in a row. Mikhail Barzaloza, as soon as is 3 for 3 on this horse. And I think this is Mikhail's one mount for the entire. He has a few. Does he have more than that?
Yeah, I saw him on Fridays.
Is he on Fridays? Okay. I think this is his one Saturday mount. So you're talking. There was a point in time 5 years ago where he was considered the best jockey in the world. And I think that things change, but he is a jockey who's considered very highly, and to see him shipping in for this kind of horse. This is another one of those horses, has taken a number of steps forward. He beat a horse that's very highly regarded in the Lion Winner. And if you watch the replays of his last 2 races, maybe which are at different tracks, both of them were just very, very impressive. Very game horse in the lane. Seems like a horse who's really started to put it together. And this is one of those 3-year-olds, a Wooten Bassett. The Wooten Bassets have been very, very, very good. Obviously, Sire's untimely passing. But, some of these types of horses, they've been very, very, very good. He's the type that seems to be improving. I think he's also a bit of an unknown commodity in the U.S. market. So you're going to get every bit of that 6-1 price. I think that's very fair. And I think, for me, he's my most likely winner in this race. I think I just really need those 2 in this spot.
Yeah, I think I'll go a different direction than kind of both of y'all. To talk about the favorite Idle Speech, this is kind of a case of, do you trust your eyes or do you trust the figures? My eye test, he looked phenomenal in the Woodbine Mile. The figures show he was not that fast, and it was admittedly a pretty weak running of the Woodbine Mile. I thought he was a bit of an underlay last year. People were saying, oh, well, this year they kind of worked their way backwards from the Breeders' Cup, and that was the target. But that Breeders' Cup race is still the best race he's run last year. So I don't just know that I buy that argument. This is not probably as strong of a running as it was then, perhaps. But I will say that Notable Speech is one that I'll probably try to beat. I like Mark's picks a little bit. Ceylon, I think, is fine. Not my top selection, but one who I do think is pretty interesting and checks a lot of boxes, especially at what I think will be a pretty good price. I am not on Rhetorical. I just don't buy the New York bred jumping up and winning the Keeneland Mile and now coming into the Breeders'. I just don't believe it. But I think something that's interesting to talk about a little bit is that there's no clear pace in this race. I mean, there's, to Josh's chagrin, there's no E8s. There's not even like an E6. I mean,
there might be like an EP4.
Like an EP4 might be the best we get, right? Yeah. So I think that reason alone makes the far outside horse, Kirat, a little interesting. Yeah. This horse is a Juddmonte homebred who has been previously used in Rafe Paquette's barn as a rabbit, but he won the Sussex Stakes as a rabbit at an exorbitant price of 150 to 1. So this is a horse that has class and has talent. Did kind of take a penalty in the weights after winning that grade 1 and then did not repeat that in his next 2 starts. But I think that's fine. Yeah. Because I don't think this is the same level as what he's been against. And he should have a really good pace advantage against this bunch. What is likely to be a massive price from the far outside post having to show speed, that horse makes my tickets. I like Kirat in here. I think Josh mentioned Jonquil a little bit. That's the other half of the Juddmonte uncoupled entry, who I do like as well. Couldn't quite get up with Rhetorical and Program Trading in the Turf Mile, but I also thought wasn't the best ride by Dylan that day. Just really had this horse kind of out of position, both far back and wide at the same time. I think that getting friend of the show, Steven, agrees. Colin Keane has rode this horse to his victory last time, decided to ship over, take the mount. I like Jonquil, similar to Josh. I think Mark talked about Argene. I'm on board with that horse. Or Josh, both of you guys maybe. Both horses I like, I agree with both you guys, a horse I like. And then I'm actually kind of leaning towards the California horses in here, which feels gross. You guys can both leave. But
I'm going to leave. No. You're going to give me crap about a New York bred. You're going to pick a California horse?
I'm picking a California horse who was second in this race last year.
Jesus.
With Jin Hannes, who ran a great race last year, has been, had a terrible prep in the 4-star Dave, but then came back to show he's no worse for wear in the City of Hope. And really loves Del Mar and loves this trip.
Caleb comparing the City of Hope to the 4-star Dave. Okay, go on.
I mean, it was a first start in a year. He earned that.
Okay.
And speaking of who loves this trip, the horse right to his outside, the other California horse, Formidable Man, a perfect 6 for 6 over the Del Mar Oval, has gotten much better as a 4-year-old, or a real crack miler here. Maybe not the classiest sorts, kind of searching for that elusive like landmark victory. But again, getting a good price in here. So this is a race that I don't want to be skinny. I want some coverage. I'll probably be against the favorite, but I want some of the mid-price to longer price horses in here.
Yeah. One other horse I did want to mention, and I know we're trying to get through these and not go on and talk forever, but the one horse, One Stripe, I think is actually a little bit of an interesting player here. Don't love the draw, but if you watch Graham Motion he's talked about this horse a couple of times. This is a transfer horse that came from South Africa, was put into his barn, long layoff. And he basically said at that Woodbine race, he just needed a race. And he said the horse ended up with a ton of weight, ended up with a brutal trip, and was not at all what he wanted. That was not the ride that he asked for. So the jockey change was partly due to that. He subtly alluded to that was not what he was looking for. I kind of wonder if this is a horse that there's a lot more there. This horse was kind of a win monster in South Africa. We've seen some of these South African horses when they do ship up. There's talented. There's a yeah, who doesn't love to win, but runs some big figs and runs some good races, right? So I don't think that, I think you're going to get every bit of 30 to 1. I think this is a super, super wise guy type of horse. There's a price, and this was maybe can't win, but just an interesting outsider.
Caleb, hear me out.
Oh, God.
Right. We take this race, we move it to Santa Anita.
Okay.
And we put Cabo Spirit in it. Does Cabo Spirit win this race?
He hits the
Jesus Christ. What happened to you? What
There's
happened
no
to Caleb?
pace.
There's no pace. He's
let
right.
let Mikey go. Just go to the front end here.
Mikey go.
All right. Finally, we got to the fucking race of the weekend here. All right. This is like so. Here's the problem, right? The problem is that this is race 11.
It's
right?
a race of the week.
I wish this was
during
race
the
4 and
weekend.
not race 11 because there is a greater than non-zero chance that by the time this race comes around, I'm broke. Right.
Sure.
And my absolute best bet of the entire weekend is in this race. Right. And this is a race with we have an 8-5. We have an 8-5 favorite in Nisos in this race. And I'm gonna say the 3-letter word. I think Nisos is a rat.
Rat.
I think Nisos is a rat.
Steve, you hear that?
I think Nisos is a rat. Here's the reason. Why the fuck? Why is Nisos here?
Why is he here?
Why is he here?
Why? It's a great question.
Makes no sense.
You guys are insane.
Why is he here?
No sense.
It's perfect trip. That's exactly.
And so here's the thing. All right, so Steve's going, and you know what? I agree with Steven in the fact that I think Bob Baffert wins this race. The problem is that it is not with Nisos. Gentlemen, let's look at the number 7 horse, Citizen Bull.
No, that's wrong. Other Bafferts.
Let's take a look at the number 7 Citizen Bull, who is a horse that just loves going a mile loves Santa Anita.
You mean
Del Mar? Loves Del Mar, loves going a mile. I think that this is picture perfect setup for Citizen Bull. Gets Bob's number 1 rider in JJ Hernandez aboard. Fuck Flavian Pratt in this spot. I love Citizen Bull in here. I
even prepped him going a mile for this.
Actually, I gotta pull up odds checker because I gotta see what price he is overseas because I gotta
whatever it is, I will book it for you.
Whatever it is, you'll book it for me. Oh my god!
How much?
All right, hold on.
How much can you afford to lose?
You still have to walk home
Wait.
from Santa Anita,
Hold
so
on a
that's
second.
true.
Hold on. No, we're gonna do this live here. Let me see. What is this? This is 20. I think it's the 23:45 race. Citizen Bull. I see 10 to 1 overseas. Where's my wallet?
No juice here though. No juice.
No juice.
No vig.
I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna give you a 20. I'm gonna give you a 20 for Citizen Bull.
20?
Well, because that's all I have in cash.
20?
It's all right. That's enough for at least one crap session when we're at the casino. So
I've heard about Mike playing. I've seen Mike playing craps. You need more than that.
Oh, it's a 5.
Oh no, I'm cooked, dude. Fortnite is fun. Loves Nisos. So
you're done.
Fortnite is fun. Loves
BCBC
Nisos here.
single. Got it.
New soundboard alert 2026.
Yeah. Flowntown says a formidable man, 6 of 6 at Del Mar and 6 of 8 in off the pace races. So I mean, I thought that was interesting, but honestly, like this is like Citizen Bull is my play of the day in this spot. And I'll be honest with you guys. I think if I'm playing something horizontally here, I'm probably using more horses. I mean, I think you got to use Nisos in the spot. I honestly, I'm a little interested.
You call a horse a rat, and you're going to use
it. But okay. I'm also a little interested. I'm also a little interested. I'm also a little interested in White Barrio in this spot because it's a 2-turn mile, right? I think he's got back races that still fit in this spot, right? Now,
if he was fit though, he'd be in the classic.
But it's not 2024.
It's the same thing with Nice. He won the classic. Like,
I don't know. White Barrio is a really weird horse because they keep on running him in that stupid Met Mile, which is just like in Saratoga. Is the
it's like
one
a 1.5 turn mile,
and it's just like you got to be drawn inside. It's I just it's just a weird race. So I think a 2-turn mile at least is a little bit more fair for him. But yeah, I mean, I'm basically Citizen Bull or bust, I think, in this spot. Mark, I know you like Citizen Bull too, so I'll let you wax poetic as well.
I don't need to wax poetically about Citizen Bull. I think you said all the things. I think if we're making a case that Nisos is a rat, I don't. Why is Nisos here if he's that good? And I think that's the question with Nisos. Baffer, I was looking at saying, okay, he's my third best option, right? That's a sort of a scary proposition. I don't know. I mean, yeah, he is a horse that likes to win, but it just doesn't feel good. This is not a horse in American, or this is not a race in American racing that you point for sire or for prestige or anything else. This is just sort of like, honestly, this is one of the prestigious Breeders' Cup races, period. And so why is he here? Like, I agree with you on Citizen Bull. I think he makes all the sense. But my top price is going to be a horse that nobody else has talked about so far, and that's the 9-horse Touch of Destiny for Michael McCarthy. Oh man, do we get some walkouts? Josh is just snack. Again, we saw this last year where a South American invader came in and took the dirt mile, and I realized the horse had a couple of starts in the States. But again, this is another horse who was just absolutely cleaning house in South America. Is 6 for 6 lifetime. Those races were just not even that competitive. And in a race where I'm looking around and saying, I think these fields are suspect. I think there's a lot of question marks to be answered. Give me a horse that's at a stupid price that I think has some upside, and I think somebody like Touch of Destiny is really, really interesting here. With that being said, I'm also going to have horses like Citizen Bull covered. I'm also going to have there's a few other questions, but this race really to me has turned into the okay, you aren't good enough to run in a real Breeders' Cup race, so you kind of wash out and end up here. Chancer McPatrick, you have horses like White Barrio, you have those types of horses who Mystic Dan, horses that are like, why are you here? Why are any of them here? It makes no sense. So give me somebody who's an outsider in a race that I think is wide open.
Yeah, I respect the angle. I just don't respect the pick. Cool. Go for it. He'll be 50-1.
Awesome.
Take your shot. Citizen Bull, I don't know how you guys think this horse has any talent. He's not moved forward at all since he was 2. I don't care about
2.
He beat a 3-horse field, one of which was his stablemate in the last
and ran a 126 doing it, which is the fastest time for him.
With everything his own way.
Did you take Nevada Beach?
I did. And he beat your co-favorite in this race. Or your favorite, is it? Your second co-favorite, yes. I think that 20-1 on Nevada Beach, much better than 10-1 on Citizen Bullshit. So
I wish I had the damn. So I meant to bring the card that David Barista painted for us. I had it in front of me on my desk. There's 2 things I forgot. One was to take my medication, and second was I forgot to get the Citizen
was
Bull.
The third one to handicap the dirt mile?
No, I handicapped it. That's why I needed the Citizen Bull card that David Barista sent us.
I don't know what to do with Nisos. He's going to be an underlay. No matter what you think, he's an underlay. Because he's on no set of figures is he 8-5 in his field. But are you okay with losing a monster pick 5 because you didn't want to bet an underlay who was still in the conversation?
He's got to be a lone A and a pick 5, right? He sort of has.
He's in the conversation, but
or a very you can't be 6 wide.
But he's not that fast.
No, he's not that much faster, but he's super logical.
Yes, he is.
So in a pick 5, he's a must-use type horse.
Agreed. But understanding you're must-using him in a sense that probably cost you equity.
Yes. Yeah. Because you're going to make equity up other places.
Yes. Yeah. For me personally, I like the other. Apparently other Baffert. Number 2, goal oriented actually, who has been competing against the best 3-year-olds we've seen. Yes. Josh, big journalism stan.
I hate everything about today.
He's not that good, but he's always in the race until the last 16th. And he goal-oriented, he kind of drops out in that last.
So you're using the Shackelford trip on him here.
I just think the cut back here from a 1 1/8 to a mile.
I respect it.
really fits him.
Respect it.
6-1. I'm a little nervous with Saez getting them out. This is not a horse that I love. I think Saez may get him involved too early. Go up there and tangle with Full Serrano and Citizen Bull. That's not the trip that works for him.
Doesn't it sort of feel like Flavian, Juan, and Arad all have better options in here?
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, I would agree with that.
Okay.
If that being said, I do think Full Serrano is still a nice horse.
He's a nice horse.
Hasn't run back to that BC Dirt Mile fig from last year yet, but is also that race knocked him out for 10 months.
Yep.
Potentially third start off the layoff is when he jumped up last time.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that happening again here. The 9 furlong race against Nevada Beach, I just think 9 furlongs maybe out of his wheelhouse. Coming back to a mile maybe makes some sense. So I like goal oriented and Full Serrano. White Barrio, I liked him pre-draw. I do think he'll lose some ground here post-draw.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of mile races at Del Mar because it is a quick run to that first turn. I think that's tough. And then, Chancer, not for me. Mystic Dan, maybe, but not at 6-1. So for me, it's a tough race. I think it's a better race where you find prices underneath rather than you look for a price on top.
David Barista says he makes a new set for all of the winners of cards. So I thought he was saying like, I'm going to get a second Citizen Bull card here. But then he clarified, he said you'll get a fresh Citizen Bull design if you can dunk on this field. So,
wait, if you agree that Juan isn't on your 2 because he had better options, you know who Juan is on, right?
But that's good for
so Caleb, historically, how does it go for you in California when you fade Juan Furts?
Who's he on?
Citizen Bull.
I'll be fine.
So Josh needs a signal now.
If he said Nisos, I'd have been scared. But Citizen Bull, I'm not worried.
Fortnite is fun saying Nisos may be the fastest horse of all time, but he doesn't have to be to win this race. So he thinks that this is just a soften the field that maybe Nisos just showing up wins here.
I don't hate that take at all. He may
except he hasn't been.
Except for
I mean, goal oriented technically looks faster than Nisos.
Nisos is just a player in this race.
Yes,
and he's getting bet as if he's 5 lengths faster than anybody else.
Well, I think he's probably the least suspect horse in this race.
I mean, he's probably
he is very suspect. What are you talking about? The fact that he's like, why is he in this race?
He at least wins races.
He's very talented, but he's on what he's shown. He's not 8-5 against his field. He's not.
I'll give you all 5-1. I'll book it.
On who?
Anyone you want.
If I had any confidence I would get paid, I would take it.
Like, Steve, you can't bet tomorrow. Sorry.
Actually, I take 3 horses in here and get. Yeah, I would take that. I would take that.
I think you can pick 2.
I could pick 3, and yeah,
it's still break even. Yeah,
4. Jeez, I mean,
what's the rebate?
All right, we got one race left here. We got the BC Philly Mare Turf. Thank you guys for sticking around. It's a little bit longer stream than usual, but appreciate all you guys sticking around. Love the chat. I saw David Barista in here. Fortnite is fun. Flowntown, Russ, Cobb. We got some new faces and David Pierce in here. I thought there was another one. I'm scrolling. Ed Burke. He's a new face that we haven't seen much of. So appreciate you guys coming in here, hanging out with us in chat. So, you guys are the reason we do this. We like just sitting here bullshitting and obviously, talking with you guys. So appreciate it. BC Philly and Mare Turf. We're going to be going a 1 3/8 here on the turf. Your morning line favorite in this race, and this seems to be a pretty flat race, is Gazora here, the 5 at 7-2. I'm against in this race. I got 2 other horses I like.
The biggest miss on morning lines of the whole weekend right here.
You think so?
Gazora will not be your favorite. I don't think.
Who do you think your favorite's going to be?
Either she feels pretty,
yeah,
or
she feels
maybe
pretty.
See the Fire.
No, at least she feels pretty. Definitely, she feels pretty.
I think Gazora will be 4th pick, maybe 5th,
probably 4th or 5th.
Cinderella's Dream. I think also goes shorter than her.
I think Cinderella's Dream is probably your second choice given last year.
Yeah,
I think everybody remembers the race that I remember, which is the worst ride of British.
I think this is a classic case of overcompensating for the post draw.
Yes, agreed.
Because your top 3 horses are in the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
I really like She Feels Pretty in the spot. I think there were some questions. There were some questions like, would this horse get better, especially after that race at Keeneland, I think last year. You got that 128 time form fig, and I think the horse is kind of she's definitely run a couple of really good races this year. You got a couple of 127s, 3 wins and 4 starts. You got a second by a head in this spot. So I really like She Feels Pretty in the spot. I think I think she looks good. I like the little bit of a layoff here coming into this race. The only other horse I have is the number 6 Diamond Rain, which was the horse that ran second to She Feels Pretty last time in that Woodbine race, in I believe the EP Taylor Stakes, grade 1 there at Woodbine. And this is just a case where I like second up here in the U.S. for Chucky Apples. William Buick had ridden this horse numerous times, and we get a jockey switch here, but that 127 time form first time in the U.S. I thought was very impressive, and only lost by a head in that spot. So I do think that Diamond Rain is definitely in here with a shot. I guess my question to you guys is, pace wise, we talked about this in the mile. There was no pace. I feel like this is another race that looks very, very devoid of pace. Where do you guys think that there's any pace in this race here? Like, I have a hard time finding like who I think is going to be on the front in here.
Probably Be Your Best, right?
Probably it's got to be Your Best. Yeah. And I think you're going to end up with a situation that a lot of the Euros just kind of run as fast as the leaders run. So I think you're going to see a stack up behind her, but she's probably controlling pace.
I actually, now that I think about it, I did mention Be Your Best a little bit on Drinking Champagne. It's kind of maybe like a C type play, depending on how the track's playing. Like, granted, we've talked about this already. Yeah. Del Mar, it's hard to wire on the turf, right? It's not Santa Anita, it's not a number of other turf courses we have, but yeah, I mean, there's a chance that maybe Be Your Best kind of gets out there and does her thing. I think that she's definitely a type that at 31 you use an exactas and tries if you're playing.
Totally.
If you're playing,
she could suck up and hit the try or the super or something like that. It wouldn't shock me at all.
Yeah. But yeah, I was very much on the 6 and the 6 and 13 in here as my 2 A's. Caleb, where did you kind of land here?
Yeah, so I like She Feels Pretty. I think the draw really hurts her chances. Specifically, this 1 mile and 3/8 configuration at Del Mar, they start the race basically in the first turn. I mean, they have less than 100 yards to get over before they start making the turn. And She Feels Pretty in the 13 post. That's a tall ask. And I also think if you look back at that EP Taylor, she was life and death to hold on going 1.25 miles. She now has to stretch out 1 more furlong. And, 2 back against Excellent Truth, who admittedly, I don't think all that much of. She couldn't hold on. I don't know that she's at her best doing this distance. I think her post position hurts her.
Well, you were talking about this race being the biggest miss on the morning lines. Is this the biggest miss, or is this David Aragona capping his own handicapping? Or morning
Probably
lines
both.
his own handicapping? Because I think he very much
it's overemphasizing the post draw.
Yep.
Because I do think people are going to see She Feels Pretty. And gravitate towards that.
Yes.
And I think like a horse like Jazora, she's nowhere on my tickets. But he
most likely winner.
9-2 overseas, Jazora.
Okay, but like I think she will attract some attention. Yeah. She won't be 10-1.
Third choice.
But that's where I would put her. Yeah. 3rd to 4th choice, personally. So yeah, I think that's a bit of a miss. That being said, unfortunately for me, the horses I liked all drew in the parking lot.
Yep.
I liked honestly, the 12, 13, and 14. I thought Beliza, She Feels Pretty, and See the Fire were your 3 likeliest winners. Beliza, I'm still using because she's a huge number. But if you ignore those soft turf races that she caught, her firm turf races are very good. She will get firm turf at Del Mar. She took a step forward last out in the Flower Bowl. Should step forward again, getting firm turf at Del Mar. Just needs to work out the right trip from a bad post. But at 20-1, I'm still using her.
Yeah.
She Feels Pretty and See the Fire. See the Fire is the class of the field. Has been in Group 1 company forever. Doesn't win a ton, but does maintain Group 1 status pretty much every single time. The 14 push is tough. With this configuration, that's brutal. Her and She Feels Pretty are both tough for me at that draw. So I did kind of gravitate a little bit more towards the inside horses. I talked about Belize a little bit, who at the price I still must use. And I agree with Josh about Diamond Rain, who with 6 more steps would have beat She Feels Pretty. Was coming on like crazy late.
Had a brutal trip.
Brutal trip. Shuffled back. a little green, for a 4-year-old.
Very.
Still very green for a 4-year-old, very lightly raced.
She kept trying to come into the
I try not to play the jockey carousel game too much, so I'm moderately bothered by the fact that Buick ends up on Cinderella's Dream.
It's an upgrade,
but
you're gonna get a better price.
But I'm gonna say, I don't care. Yeah. Cinderella's Dream could win this race. I'm personally not convinced that she's that good going 1 3/8 miles. There's a reason she was campaigned shorter her entire career.
Yep.
This is just the only place in America they can put her.
Yep.
And she almost got the job done last year, I guess. But last year's version,
William Buick falling asleep, yes.
But Moira, she's fine.
I have no problem with Moira. I just
this is a better field.
Yeah, it happened to be the best horse did not win the race on that day. That's my problem.
I do want to point something out. Penn State Scott literally just got here. He said he just got into San Diego. Penn State Scott, we literally put the bottles out for you. You always say, hey, we don't know what you're drinking. We literally have the bottles in the front so you know what we are drinking. And literally, what are we talking about? 2.5 hours later, he shows up. Yeah. So shout out to Penn State Scott. He's in San Diego. But
that's all I have there.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'll keep it somewhat succinct. She Feels Pretty. I hate the draw. She's probably she's one of the most talented horses in the race, but I think the draw is a major detriment. She's just going to have to invent a trip, and the draw is just going to be brutal for her. I think you guys mentioned like Cinderella's Dream. I'm against Cinderella's Dream just in the fact that she hasn't improved this year. Her 3 to 4, she did not take a step forward. She has not been in phenomenal form, and she's won races where she was supposed to win them, where she's been a very short price, and then a bunch of other ones like that Duke of Cambridge, a crazy short price, but she just couldn't get it done. I very much agree with you. I don't think they've campaigned her at the right distance. I just think they don't have the right distance in America to campaign her at. I think this is a little bit further than she necessarily wants to go. And so it sort of landed, again, I went to some of those horses on the inside. You mentioned Diamond Rain, very much like Diamond Rain here. I think with a little better trip, I don't think that, I think we hear so much about William Buick in the United States. I have seen more suspect, terrible rides out of William Buick than any other big name European jock that ships into the United States. I can't name anybody else who gives more garbage.
Horse around more?
Okay. They're tied. Frankie's better.
He doesn't count. He's based here.
I mean, he's a South American jock now, so it doesn't really matter. But no, my top horse is going to be Gazora, the 5. If you look historically, the Prix de Dion is probably the best prep for the Breeders' Cup filly and mare. Historically, you've had a ton of winners come out of that race. She won that race. Very nice affair. She beat a bunch of very well-regarded horses in that. And then they tried to stretch her out, and they stretched her out a little further than she really wants to go. She does not want to go 12 furlongs. As you saw, now her Prix Vermeil was not a bad race. She ran very well, but just further than she wants to go. And then they took a shot in the arc where she just was straight up outclassed. So, I think that 7-2 line that you were mentioning, I think that's a factor of David Aragona looking at those same type of things, saying, hey, she's getting back to realistic company. She's getting back to a trip that she wants to be going. And she's a horse that's inside drawn in a race where a lot of the very talented horses are drawn out in the parking lot. She's the kind of horse that makes a ton of sense. So Gazora will be my top pick in here, with Diamond Rain probably being my second choice.
Gazora is not one I'm on, but I'm curious. If you like her, what are your thoughts on the 11 Bedtime Story?
I think she's kind of beaten Bedtime Story a couple of times,
but not by much.
But not by much. And I think again, you're getting a much better price than somebody like Bedtime Story. My big issue with Bedtime Story, she just doesn't win ever. She's 4 for 13 lifetime, and she hasn't won since what? Her last was 2024. It's been a year and a half or a year and a couple of months since she's won. She's a horse that was definitely very, very fired really well early, and then she just probably hasn't taken that step forward. Talented horse, but I think she's just a cut below. But again, it's a situation where in this kind of a field, this kind of trip, she could trip out and definitely win this at 12-1. Wouldn't be a shocker.
Sure, fair enough.
I have her as a B. So,
anything else on this race?
Nope.
Good.
I think we did this in record time. It only took us 2.5 hours.
To get through a million races.
You know, so I mean, we did it probably about 20 minutes faster than we've done in the past. So, but yeah, I think that's gonna do it for us here. Thank you guys, like I said, so much for checking us out. You know, tons of fun stuff in the chat. So you know, obviously, like I said, we do this guy for you guys. So appreciate that. We'll have some more stuff up on our YouTube channel. We'll have some shorts up. I've requested some outside help. So I do have some
We need all the help we can get.
yeah, so I do have some other guests coming in, you know, giving some picks. So hey, Mike, who's your best bet on Saturday?
Scylla.
Mike loves Scylla. All right, he
Single.
was in chat talking about Scylla. He loves Scylla still. But yeah, check us out on thewronglead.com at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Mark is at 2 turns. I almost said slow and steady because I was thinking about Matt. And then Caleb's at Caleb WBU.
I mean, that's a compliment, though, right?
Yeah, I
It's
think
a
so. Yeah,
compliment.
yeah. I mean, you guys are both bald. That's about all you guys. Only similarity between you guys, but yeah. So check us out there, and like I said, appreciate you guys here. Hit all the buttons, like, subscribe. Have a good weekend, guys. And you know, maybe we'll. Oh, I don't have the 12 on here, so we'll have to hit you out with the normal exit. Have a good weekend. Let's make some money. Eat some Funyuns.